Well, we are back in action. We welcome you to Dialed In with Luke Brennaman. I'm Thom Brennaman, and our producer, engineer extraordinaire who's been working through all of the minutia of some technical issues and stuff just blowing up around here is Casey McAllister. Is that true or false?
That's relatively true. I mean, things caught fire, and we're still working through the aftermath of it as I look at our computer.
And when do you expect to have everything back up to speed?
I'm probably, since I don't have much going on after the show today, I'm going to take some time and try to find some of that equipment and get the TVs back up and rolling. And
okay. All right. So we'll be all good maybe by Monday, maybe not. Maybe next Friday we'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luke, you were at the Big Ten Media Day yesterday. You're sporting your Indiana University shirt there. It's a sweet shirt.
Thank you.
Your first time you've ever been to a media day. How was it?
It was awesome. And for a first time, arguably the best one you could go to, the Big Ten.
Yep.
And it's even bigger now with the conference realignment and all the expansion inside of that conference. It was really cool. I showed up a little bit early. The first guy to address the media was Dan Lanning.
Oregon coach.
I mean, what a wonderful public speaker. I would go play for that guy right now, all 140 pounds of me. But other than that, it was a really good experience. It was really cool to be there. And just that idea of the college football vibe being in the air right now, because that sneaks up on you. Pro Bowl and preseason, it gets all hyped up, and I never let myself buy into it because I hate the preseason in the NFL. But like college football, the second week 0 hits, even though they're not the greatest matchups in the world, it's still life or death in that sport, because I know they're expanded playoff, but one loss and it can ruin a season.
No doubt. It was interesting. I was at the ACC media days the last 4 days, getting a chance from the CW, who I will be eternally grateful for giving me this opportunity to get back in the broadcast booth. So I'd sit down the last few days in a room and interview guys like Dabo, Sweeney, Mac Brown, Mario Cristobal, and then some of the players from all these different teams. And, man, it does get you fired up. There's no doubt. And we'll get to all this in a little bit. But I want to remind you, we might be making some tweaks because he actually is a college student. So we're going to have to figure out with his class schedule what we're going to do here, Casey, from a timing standpoint moving forward. Let me ask you this. If I'm somewhere on a Friday, Friday morning, say I'm in Clemson, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and Luke is in Bloomington. Can you pull up from a technical standpoint, both of us at the same time to still do the show?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We were debating that. And so right now we're Mondays and Fridays at 9:15. Right here on Chatterbox, and we post later on Believe. But once he gets to school in about 3 weeks, right?
4.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. About 4 weeks. We might have to make some changes on our time. You can find us on YouTube, of course. Many of you already here on the Chatterbox Sports page. Download us anytime, anywhere. Just search Dialed In with Thom Brennaman, and you are dialed in. All right, so we're down to the final weekend before Major League Baseball's trade deadline, right? And the action has already started up for teams that believe they are contenders. And there are a lot of teams that are legitimately contenders. Whether they're any good or not is debatable. But they're contenders. First in Seattle. I mean, they were rolling early. Now they can't score to save their lives. So they deal for Tampa Bay's all-star outfielder, Randy Arozarena. And, everybody says this is the best outfielder available in the trade market. Dude's hitting .211 with an on-base percentage of .318. I mean, you're giving up some players for guys like that. We'll get to all this other stuff in a minute. Then you have the defending National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks. They trade their 14th and 30th, whatever that means. This is where people get wrapped up in all the ratings of the minor league guys. Your 14th and 30th best prospect. What the hell's the difference between the 40th and 30th? 14th and 30th? None. You never know. It's just a ranking, and somebody gets paid to do it. But they go out, and they get A.J. Puck from the Miami Marlins. Now, the Diamondbacks bullpen has been a disaster. They're 3 games over 500. If they had even an average bullpen, which they are way below average in strikeouts, in earned run average. You're dead last in strikeouts per 9 innings. Dead last, their bullpen. And then their ERA, I think they were only about 4 teams better. If they were even average, they would be leading the wild card right now because they have scored over 500 runs so far this year. So now they bring in the left-hander Puck, who's been really good as a bullpen pitcher the last 2 years. They tried to make him a starter this year. That lasted a month. They move him back into the bullpen, and he has been dealing. So now he's a Diamondback. Of course, all of this means nothing to most of us. It gets us to the Cincinnati Reds, where the team starts a 3-game road series tonight in Tampa Bay. They sit 7th in the wild card standings. 3 wild card teams make the playoffs. They sit 7th, okay? All the other teams in front of them, including the Pittsburgh Pirates, are over 500. And I've said on this show right from the beginning, you're wasting your time telling me how many games behind the Reds are in the wild card. It doesn't matter until they get to 500. It is completely irrelevant because you are not going to make the postseason under 500. Reds are 4 games under 500. Nick Lodolo gets a ball tonight. Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter yesterday, second in Padres history. They let him go 114 pitches. Good for Mike Schilt, their manager. And then Clayton Kershaw, future Hall of Famer, his first start last night since having shoulder surgery. He felt good about it. 4 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts in a 5-4 win. We're about 4 hours, men, from the opening ceremonies of the Summer Olympic Games in Paris. I mean, that time difference ain't cutting it here in America, man.
I actually have already been watching soccer.
Yeah.
Because they started early.
Yeah.
The men's team got their butts kicked. I know we didn't cover it yesterday on Kenner's show, but there was no point because they were bad.
Who did they lose to?
France, which is, yeah.
The United States should not lose to anything in France. I mean, except for maybe on one of those cooking shows.
But it's home field advantage, and they're one of the best teams, I think, in the Olympics.
Can you imagine that? I mean, seriously.
What?
Now, I know all of our best athletes in the United States, they go play other sports. I get it. And that's what you hear. You know, in some of these other countries, it is all about soccer. And all the best athletes grow up playing soccer, right?
Yeah.
France, they play basketball. They don't play baseball. They don't play American football, right?
Right.
So it's either, you know, they've had a lot of great tennis players through the years. They've had good soccer through the years. They have good basketball. I'll give them that. But America should never lose to France in anything. We bailed their ass out of everything their entire history since we were born in 1776. Luke, are you excited for the Olympics?
I'm personally not. And I actually feel guilty saying that. I'm a very nationalistic guy, and I'm going to root for Team USA. I just can't get up for the Olympics. I don't think it's – I'm just not into the sports that the Olympics is for. I think every 4 years it's good to see. We were talking to Casey before the show. I love, like, seeing the Michael Phelps and Katie Ledeckis of the world just go dominate just an entire aspect of it, and they kind of turn into Captain America for a couple weeks of the Olympics, and it's awesome, and it rallies everyone. But there really isn't that spark this Olympics. I don't know too many of the track and field stars' names, if any of them. And we're going to get into this later. Team USA basketball is something that we really pride ourselves on. And the fact that the Dream Team, or I guess a version of that, came back this year to kick some butt, and they're struggling early. We'll get into that more later. It's just kind of taking a little air out of the ball, in my opinion.
All right. One final thing before we get into all these topics that I want to congratulate Hamilton West Side, right down the road here. I mean, these guys are a juggernaut and have been for years and years and years and years. They won the state championship last night. They advance now to the regional tournament in Indianapolis. Congrats to coaches Ken Coomer and Tim Nichtine. Fellas, way to go, and go get them. They're trying to get back to the Little League World Series. All right, we start with the Reds. And everybody's wondering, what are they going to do, if anything? Are they going to make a deal? The trade deadline is creeping up on us. End of the month. Today's the 26th. We've got 5 days left. Yay or nay, do you think the Reds ought to be actively shopping to make a deal to try and get into the postseason sitting 7th in the wild card? Yay or nay?
No, it's such an easy answer. The future of the Reds is a very bright future. Look at the brightest future in the MLB that's turning out to be a contender for the AL pennant, let alone World Series contender. That's the Baltimore Orioles. Did they rush their rebuild? Did they rush their young talent? No. They were good last year, but they didn't turn into enormous buyers, and they got hate for that. You have to wait until your guys are ready and you're a complete team. Elly De La Cruz is blossoming. Jonathan India is blossoming. Hunter Green is blossoming. The supporting cast has a ways to go, and this year is not the year. I know the wild card race is competitive, but just looking at the future of the NL Central, I think the Reds and the Pirates have the two brightest futures, and the Reds will very much contend for that division come the start of next year, and if they don't, they have issues. It's too early to do anything at this point in the season with the amount of injuries they still have right now. I mean, heck, half their starting lineup hasn't played the whole year. Novelli Marte just got back, and Reds fans want to kick him to the curb. There is a future of this team. Don't give it up to make some push to sneak into the wild card spot and then get beat the first round of the playoffs, even if you sneak in.
What do you think, Casey?
I'm on the same train, but I think that instead of not doing anything, I might even sell a little bit. I'm still looking at pieces like Frankie, possibly getting rid of India. I don't want to because I feel like he could potentially blossom into that guy that you've kind of led me on to this now, this thought of that he could be an actual meaningful player on this team. He's been just playing lights out. And I'm not in the business of trading great players away. I'm not. I just like it, when it comes to all sports, and he's getting that point where he's been lights out. I think he's, for this month, though, hitting like 240, which is still really good. I mean, like, I don't.
Well, in this day and age, it's average.
But it's still good enough to be like, if you're going to get a 380 month and then a 240 right after that, I'll take that. So I really like Jonathan India, too. He provides depth. But I think there is a possibility for trading pieces away. Like, I think Lucas Sims' name was thrown out there.
Well, there is the area, and we were going to get into that. There is the area, if you believe what you read, that a lot of other teams are very interested in some of the arms down in the Reds bullpen. See, here's the thing when you are a team that is in a rebuild, okay? And I brought this up 2 years ago with the Cubs. And when they won it all in 2016, see, the big market teams, in the Cubs' case, they raided their club with a bunch of young, incredibly talented position players, much like the Reds, in theory, if everybody's healthy. You know, Rizzo and Baez and Chris Bryant and all these guys, right? They had the money to go out and spend it when they were ready to win, to spend the money on pitchers. So they brought in Lester, and they trade for Jake Arrieta. They hit the lottery with that. You know, they bring in Aroldis Chapman. They bring in all these guys to fill in and ready to make a run. The Reds are not going to be able to spend like that. But here's the problem. If the Reds decided, and I wouldn't be against it, if they decided, you know what, this is just not our year. We're going to get everybody back healthy, good Lord willing, next year. Okay? And we'll go to the post with anybody starting next year. I normally am never in favor of this. I was a guy screaming and yelling they should have made a deal last year because you never know if you're going to get back. I said that this time a year ago. You got to make the deal. And they didn't do it. And they didn't make it. But if you trade Fernando Cruz, Lucas Sims, or even Alexis Diaz, okay, you're going to get some decent players back. You're throwing in the towel for this year. My issue is who you replacing them with next year.
That's what I'm saying, and that's my exact point on the buying idea is I think the Reds are in a fine spot right now. I don't know how all the money works. That's so hard to keep up with in baseball. But I have written down right here, This is the future of the Cincinnati Reds, in at least my opinion.
Okay.
I think you have to trust CES. He got called up last year. He looked amazing, hit a couple bombs. His injury stuff has obviously plagued him, and he's been playing hurt the entire season.
That's exactly right.
So you can't give up on Encarnacion Strand. I say him at first base. You stick with Jonathan India at second base, Matt McLean at short when he's healthy, Marte at third. You have to move Elly De La Cruz to a right or left field. Because that is and you can say, you don't take a generational, there's always that argument. You don't take a generational talent and switch his position. What happened to Fernando Tatis, and he is a damn good outfielder now, and I think Elly De La Cruz can be even better.
Well, there are even better examples through the years, and you're not young enough to remember them, of course, but I mean, you look at some of the most athletic, most dynamic players in the history of baseball. And a couple that come to mind that right fielders right away, Vladimir Guerrero, Hall of Famer. Dave Parker should be Hall of Famer. Shortstop and center field are extremely demanding physical positions. And mental, for that matter. I think with Elly, you could lay off some of the wear and tear and getting beat up. I know a lot of people like him at shortstop. But I'm with you all the way. I make him a corner outfielder, not a left fielder. I'm going to make him a right fielder, corner outfielder, and just go play.
So to finish off the rest of that lineup, I have Elly and Spencer Steer right or left, whatever's easiest for Elly. I love TJ Friedl in center. I really do have hope in him. He has to stay on the field. And he's been injury plagued, obviously, but that leaves a designated hitter spot and whatever works best defensively. And that's also that piece that I am very much already.
Where did you have McLean?
At short.
Oh, okay.
And I'm very much already bought into this idea for the Reds to be a very good team next year. And I'm going to leave that DH spot open and just overall one spot in the order because I think.
Well, you got Candelario under contract.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I think come next year, he's a piece that you can move, and I think the Reds will be able to make a splash if they can have a good first half of the season next season. It feels crazy to talk about at this point right now, to where they can go get a heavy hitter, a Randy Arozarena at the trade deadline to make a splash in free agency, because I really do think that lineup I just listed right now can absolutely compete for a National League pennant paired with the way their rotation's going.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, because the starting rotation, and that's where you look at the Reds and the runs allowed so far this season, it is amazing how good that pitching has been. I just think they're in a position where I don't do anything. I really don't. I don't do anything. And I don't think that sends the message to your fan base that we're not trying. But you've got to have somebody that can come out. And Nick Krall, I love Nick Krall. I'm a Nick Krall fan. I'm a Nick Krall fan for the way he does his job. I'm a Nick Krall fan as a guy. I really like him a lot. He's a good guy and is good at his job. But he is not the dynamic sort of personality guy. Now, maybe Brandon Metter is that guy. He's a great dude, too. But they've got to get somebody, okay? It's not Bob Castellini. It's not going to be Phil Castellini. They've got to get somebody out there front and center that can lay it out to the fans. They need a point man for this team that can communicate with the fans, that can stand in front of a huddle of media and say, look, here's what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what we're thinking. This is what we're doing for a reason. You may not agree with the reason, but this is what we believe in. They don't have that guy. They do not have that person who is capable of standing. Now, I want to get into one other thing. As many of you know, I have not one time on this show beaten up the manager of the team. I have not done it. We all question a move here or there or whatever it might be, but I have not been the guy who, like on every talk show and here at Chatterbox, guys screaming and yelling for David Bell's job. I have to tell you, I'm starting to waver. If the manager's job is to get your team ready to play every single day, that's the manager's number one job. He can't control injuries. He can't control anything. But he can control his team being ready to play. If you believe that's true, then it is absolutely inexplicable how you can say you swept the Dodgers, You swept the Yankees. You have a winning record against the Phillies. And then you get swept by teams like the Nationals, the Tigers, among others. If you're good enough to beat the very, very best.
Consistently, too, because, I mean, they just swept the Braves pretty much.
That's exactly, Braves, too. Thank you. If you're good enough to beat the Dodgers in a sweep, the Braves in a sweep, the Yankees in a sweep on the road, then you cannot defend getting swept by the Washington Nationals. Everybody can have a bad series. Everybody can have a bad weekend. I get it. But if that's your job, it just seems to me that there are far too many series where this team shows you they're capable of being really good, and then they show you they stink.
I mean, they're young. There's inconsistencies, but there is a consistency forming where this team is going to get swept by a bottom half team in the MLB in either league, and then they're going to go sweep a top team in the National League like the Dodgers, a top team in the American League the majority of the year in the Yankees. I mean, it is unbelievable. It's really hard to fathom, and that stuff happens in a 162-game season. But what I'm saying is it is turning into a consistency thing. I don't know who it was, but one of our Chatterbox guys on Off the Bench was like, I think it was Jacob. He's like, I mean, I'm more than prepared for the Reds to sweep the Atlanta Braves. I mean, what do you know? It's a 2-game sweep because the game got postponed. But it's just one of those things where it really does make you question how mentally there is this team right now. Because when they need to win, it seems like they do win to put themselves in a contending position for one of these wildcard spots. And it's the same thing everybody says on every show. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And at what point are they going to lunge themselves up the stairs and get to that next level, get to the next story? And I don't know if that's going to come this year. I really don't think this team is a playoff team because there's a lot of teams in the hunt of the National League, and I think the Reds might be the worst of them all outside of the Cubs in the hunt right now.
Tell you another thing I'm tired of hearing is, these next couple of weeks. I mean, my Lord. We have heard that so many times this season. You look at the schedule, it kind of falls in our favor. Yeah, we thought that before the final homestand, before the All-Star break, where they went 5-5. They got swept by the Tigers. They did win series over the Rockies and Marlins. But 5-5 is 5-5, and that ain't getting you to the playoffs against 3 sub-500 teams. All right, we'll see what happens this weekend. They catch a break with Rosarena being gone, now off Tampa Bay's team. They're a 500 club, roughly. And so you got that going on. So the Reds tonight, and we'll see what happens. Then they come back, I believe, come back home, right? And who they have, the Cubbies?
Cubs and then the Giants.
Cubbies!
That's right, Tom. I think we're actually going to do a little it's not like a official thing that we're doing, but I think Jacob and Jimmy and Elliot, they've kind of figured out some deal about getting some tickets together for a mini Chatterbox night. I think they're working on that.
At Wrigley? Oh, you mean here at home? I'm sorry,
it's
it's at home. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That would be next weekend.
I think I got it pulled up right here. I think the plan is Tuesday, July 30th.
Okay, yeah, this is a weekend. Yeah, forgive me. Okay. Boy, Nate's always stirring it up. I'm not going down that road, Nate. We know we're not going down that road. Okay. I want to get to some buy or sells here today.
Okay.
All right? I want to get to some buy or sells. What do you got? Let's hear it.
Well, we got to start. I guess this is an actual buy or sell, but as we wrap up Reds before we have 20 minutes left for Off the Bench, we could start buy or sell with, are you buying Jonathan India if you're a team that's interested, like the New York Yankees or even the Mariners still? Or if you're the Reds, are you selling Jonathan India? Start with you, Casey.
Ooh, well, like I just said before, you've kind of convinced me that the Reds should take him seriously and he should be a major part of this team moving forward. I guess I'm buying Jonathan India. Is that the question we're asking? Are we buying Jonathan India?
Well, I guess you could do it from a Reds perspective, too. Do you want to keep India or sell him?
I want to keep India. I think he can be a major part of this team. And even if he does end up faltering again, he's great depth. I don't think that anyone could argue otherwise.
Yep.
I think he's really done a lot for him this year.
Yep.
I'm keeping him.
Dad?
I'm keeping him too. I think you've got him under an extremely favorable contract next year. And you roll the dice sometimes on India because, let's be honest, we don't know who he is. He had a good rookie year, won Rookie of the Year. He had a terrible year last year, but I thought he'd be traded. And he's had a really good season after a slow start this year. So I'd have a hard time playing him at second base again on a daily basis because his defense is not very good. That's where you get into the argument of keeping Elliott short, playing McClain at second. We could debate that from now till the end of time. But, yeah, I'm going to keep him. You?
I'm not a very opinionated Reds guy. I'm not the biggest baseball guy in the world, but I've officially bought in this season coming on this show, and I think one of the strongest opinions of the year that I have is that it is a no-brainer for the Reds to keep Jonathan India. I just think it's one of those things where I sent out a tweet yesterday when a Bleacher Report account said multiple teams are interested in Jonathan India. And I saw it, and all these Reds fans sell, sell, sell. And I'm looking at this saying, if you're a small market team like the Cincinnati Reds, you really have to draft well or kind of get lucky on some guy. I mean, look at the Guardians. I guarantee an average MLB fan does not know 60% of that team, and all they do is rake. So you got to get lucky, and you got to have guys produce. And if you draft a number 1 first-round pick like Jonathan India, he's homegrown pipeline talent, and he wins the Rookie of the Year. He looks like he's going to be the future of your franchise, has a sophomore slump, and he has worked his way back to a very good, established MLB starter. Why are you trading him?
Yeah.
What is the point of doing what you do in your pipeline? Jonathan India should be a Cincinnati Red for life, in my opinion,
Well, I don't know about that.
Until he proves that he's not. And one bad sophomore year does not count as proving that he's not. Jonathan India should be a Cincinnati Red, and I think people will be wearing his jersey for the next 5 to 7 years.
I mean, Mark Fetters makes a great point. Indy's had 2 good months in 2 years.
But
I would argue he's
great
had a
months.
few more than that, but I think he's not, for me, a Red for life, unless all of a sudden, he turns into something that he's not been so far. But he is, without a doubt, a guy, if you're a small market team, you do not trade. You've got him on a 2-year deal, this being the first year. You're paying him less than $5 million a year. And he has been, after De La Cruz, he's been your next best player. Flip a coin, him or Steer. But he's been really good.
And he's great in the clubhouse. All right,
he's
buy or
great
sell.
in the clubhouse is right, and he loves being a Red. All right, what else?
So, actual buy or sells. We talked about, you were at the ACC football conferences. I was at the Big Ten. With the conference realignment, I know there is a strong push from the people down south especially that the SEC will always be the best college football conference.
Yep.
The buy or sell question is the Big Ten is now, or you could say in the past, but let's look at it now with Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. The Big Ten, buying or selling, is the best college football conference heading into the season.
I have to sell. I want to say yes. It is because I think that, Oregon's going to be there. I mean, Oregon, Ohio State are both ranked in the top 3. It's pretty much been number 1 in every preseason poll, Georgia, and then Ohio State, Oregon, or Oregon, Ohio State. And they play the 5th week of the season, now that they're in the conference. And Michigan is right up there. But look, while yes, I think in the future, should USC get its act together, and Washington, which got to the Final Four last year, and they've lost a lot, including their coach who went to Alabama. But Washington should be a great program every single year. They should be great every year. There's so many players out there, and that's a great place to play. So if Washington and USC could get on track, because Oregon's they're in it for the long haul. NIL money beyond belief. And then you throw in Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. All of a sudden you've got it going on. But we can't forget, the SEC has added Oklahoma and Texas. That ain't all bad either. No.
Yeah, I think it's like a kind of a fair trade. Big Ten gets Oregon, top 4 team, and arguably a top 4 team in Texas Longhorns go to the SEC.
Yep.
So,
what do you think? Buy or sell?
I'm selling it. I know it's my own question. I wrote it to kind of stir stuff up. I mean, if you just look at here, I'm on the Athletics top 25 teams. I mean, yeah, you have the Ohio State, Georgia at 2 and 3, But in a year with an expanded playoff, look at how many SEC teams are favored to find themselves in. Texas at 4, Alabama at 5, LSU at 6. Ole Miss is supposed to have the best year they've probably ever had under Kiffin. Like, this is their time. And you can make that same argument with Penn State this year, but I feel like you say the same thing about Penn State every single year.
Yeah, those are my guys.
A&M's supposed to be a top 10 team in college football this year. I think the depth of the SEC is a lot stronger. Don't get me wrong. I think Nebraska's going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think there's stuff to be excited about with those middle-of-the-pack teams in the Big Ten, but they're not as there as, per se, those SEC teams are.
Casey, buying or selling, the Big Ten is the best conference in football this year?
I'm going to have to sell this year. I do think I agree with you guys that the SEC right now is very, very top-heavy. Getting Texas, which is an arguable top 5, top 4 college football team right now. Oklahoma's no slouch. LSU. I mean, like all those teams. I didn't even mention Alabama and Georgia. That like those are just they're really, really good football teams. So I can't make an argument about strength, but I can make an argument about maybe competitiveness. That Big Ten is maybe more competitive amongst all the teams. I think there's more of a bottom out with the SEC than there is with the Big Ten, but I think that's more of just a personal bias maybe.
Well, it's going to be fun. We know that. Big 12 will be good, even though they lose Oklahoma and Texas. They bring in Colorado. They bring in Utah. Utah is a great program. We forget about Utah every year. They bring in Arizona, who had a great year last year, although their coach left. Arizona State comes in. For the life of me, I can't understand how Arizona State is bad in everything. If you've ever been on that campus, how could they be bad at anything? And they stink at everything. All right, what else we got?
All right, last buy or sell. We talked about Olympics earlier. Team USA Hoops.
Yes.
Putting it just a little backstory, I'm sure a lot of people know, but obviously these exhibition games, the Team USA showcase, they have not looked good. Granted, they are undefeated heading into the actual Olympics, but 47-point favorites against South Sudan, who I was informed the country does not have an indoor basketball court. Took them to the final seconds where LeBron had to make a layup to win the game, to win by 1.
Okay.
As 46-point favorites. For people who don't bet, I think you understand what that means.
Yes.
Are we buying or selling Team USA?
I'm buying. Bottom line is, once they show up in Paris, it's going to be an ass-kicking every night.
All right.
I mean, they just got too many great players. They do. They got the best players in the world. You know, this is the first time now where it's not Coach K. You know, of all the talk about Mike Krzyzewski, if you go look at when Jerry Colangelo became the head of USA Basketball and where this country was in terms of competing internationally, I mean, just go Google Jerry Colangelo, owner of the Suns, owner of the Diamondbacks, was, no more. But when he took over and hired Mike Krzyzewski as the head coach, go look at the numbers that they put together. It's insane. Well, now you got Steve Kerr. Nice coach. I think he's the right coach. But Kerr will have a way to flip that switch and get these guys ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, he's been experimenting some things.
I'm buying
with the starting lineup. So you're buying, Casey?
I'm buying too. I just think that South Sudan got up to play for the United States. Carlick Jones, man, I mean, he hit that. I think he was the one who hit the corner 3 there towards the end to make it a close game. You could play them 100 times and they're never going to make that shot again. So to me, I think it just came down to maybe United States underestimated them a little bit. South Sudan kind of got up and played for them a little bit. They're still kind of getting gelled together as a team. United States didn't make a basket for I want to say 4 or 5 minutes there. There was a lot of time there they left off on the clock, and they were just chucking up threes, missing shots left and right. So I'm not worried about this team. I think they'll get right here soon.
Luke, buying or selling?
I agree with you guys. I'm buying. Like I said, nationalistic guy. If you sell Team USA, I'm not a fan of yours. So I'm riding with my country. I need to see a little more talent out of the best talent in the world when it comes to putting the ball in the hoop, though. They're minus 500 to win. They will win. They will win the gold medal. I love to see what LeBron's doing, just still dominating at 40 years old. I am a LeBron guy. I try to not be, but he's just he's very difficult to go, up and down with. Right. Pretty volatile guy, but it's still King James at the end of the day. I'm buying it, Team USA.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. This guy's conducted himself. You may not agree sometimes with his political stuff, whatever it might be, but at the end of the day, LeBron is a good man. He really is. He's a good man. And he appears to be a good husband, appears to be a good dad. I mean, you don't read about crap with him off the court and, walking through an airport with 2 handguns in his pocket. I mean, you don't read about any of that kind of stuff. So, LeBron's all right on this show, on Dialed In. Polly Brennaman. She joins the chat today, maybe for the first time ever. And this is what I hear around the house all the time. Casey, you will one day as well, when you and your bride have a baby boy. Because that boy will belong to mom forever.
Of course.
Forever. Just like all of us. Be honest about it now. We're all mama's boys. You can give somebody a hard time about being everybody's a mama's boy if you were lucky enough to have mom around, right?
Right.
Nobody more important in the world. And even us dads can admit that. That's a fact. She's in the chat today and says, whatever Luke thinks is best is good with me.
Thank you, Mom.
And then Molly jumped in, of course, and agreed with that.
That was like 30 minutes ago in the chat.
All right, well, that's all right. I'm just catching up. I'm a little slow to the trigger. I'm not the most tech-savvy dude in the world. What did you think of my David Bell chat, my David Bell take?
I thought it was a good take. I agreed with you. I mean, I said when I started this summer, coming in for that week and a half, 2-week stretch when I was on off the bench every day, and I thought that my take about the Girardi situation that happened in Philly could have happened with the Reds early on. I still wouldn't hate it. I mean, it's too late in the year now to switch your manager. That's just crazy. But I just don't really know. Like, I don't think David Bell is necessarily a bad Major League Baseball manager. I just don't know if he's going to be the guy that's going to win you a pennant, if he's going to win you a division. I think he's gotten the Reds to the point that he's capable of doing, where he's taken a team that could hardly win 75 games a year, and they finished over 500 last year, and I hope that they do the same this year. I don't think that they will, but I think he reached his ceiling. I think it's time to go get someone that's really going to will this team and this city to the postseason and kind of rally the troops in every way, shape, or form.
They're just too inconsistent for me. They're just way too inconsistent for me, and I know they're young, but that's always just an excuse. It's an excuse because they have so many young players that have played well, especially their pitchers. They have done their job, and you can't use youth or inexperience as an excuse because they don't need an excuse. They've delivered the goods. Ellie delivered the goods. Steer, up and down, but I mean, still solid. End of the year, his numbers are going to look good. You can't be good enough to sweep the Yankees and the Dodgers and then turn around and get swept by the Tigers and the Nationals.
All right. 5 minutes left.
5 minutes to go. This is our favorite segment on Friday. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know whose favorite it is, but we do it.
I want to hear Casey's today. He says he's got a big one today.
9:55, 5 minutes. It's Friday. The vibes are good. What are we doing this weekend, and what could be the move?
What could be the move? That's the segment.
CBTM. Could be to move.
So, what is it you're looking at here? Casey, since you were saying you've got a kind of a good one, we're going to start with you.
Well, Tom, I have a perfect plan for this weekend. I'm going to be doing absolutely nothing but playing college football 25 all weekend long. That could be the move.
It could be the move for Casey. It is the move.
Wait, because we got 5 minutes. Wait, hold on a second. Is your wife out of town?
No.
Let me check just real quick. What is the? It is supposed to be sunny and 84 today. Sunny and 87 tomorrow. Supposed to be partly cloudy, little warmer on Sunday. And you mean to tell me she's cool with you sitting on your tail in front of the TV, boarded up, all the curtains slammed up in the dark, playing college football, video games all weekend?
No, she probably won't be satisfied with that response whatsoever. But I did actually remember. I have another thing that could be the move. I forgot. Because this is actually a big one for me and my family. What could be the move? Going down to South Bend and watching Chelsea play, the soccer club from Europe.
Premier League team.
I forgot about that one. That's Saturday. So
I saw where they played. I was at the ACC headquarters. They played a game the other night in the University of North Carolina Stadium. Packed.
Yeah.
Keenan Stadium. All right. What could be the move for you, Lukey man?
Okay, I'm going to put a little disclaimer on this one because I used to think of myself as a very hardworking kid. I had a couple things going the last few summers. This summer was not the best summer for me. I'm a caddy. We've talked about that a couple times.
Yep.
So don't get this wrong when I say this. Just for this weekend, could be the move for me is going to be working. Working on the weekend, you pick up some extra money.
Everybody's working for the week.
Okay, that is not the move ever, whatever that was right there.
Okay.
But working all this weekend, I'm going back to school soon. I got to get my money up. So working on the weekend, it could be the move, definitely up for debate. We'll see on Monday's show if it actually was the move. But I've been working a lot this week. I'm working into the weekend. I was out of town last weekend, so some work to do.
Okay. For me, it's got to be just TCB, taking care of business. That could be personally, getting some exercise. It could be around the house, got to cut the grass. We're getting ready to go on a family vacation coming up in about a week and a half for like a week. And we may still do the show because we're going to be together. I hope we do. And I just got to get some stuff together. You got to take care of business sometimes. I hate saying it. You know what I mean? My wife and daughter are leaving town. That means we got a boys' weekend, and we're talking about me taking care of business and you working all the time. We got the house to ourselves.
Well, no.
For 5 days.
After my loop, after my double bag on Saturday, it's showtime. I mean, the weekend is underway Saturday night. Whether that's hang out with the fellas or doing what Casey's doing, playing the new video game I just got, NCAA, that will be figured out come Saturday evening.
Okay, all right. I got to tell you, and you saw it yesterday at the Big Ten Media Day, but one of the things we did with every single kid that walked in, and I interviewed 3 kids from every school in the Atlantic Coast Conference over the last 4 days. They picked the players they're going to bring with them to this thing, so I'd interview the coach and then 3 players. And so we asked every single kid that sat down the first question. We'd ask them, okay, do you play video games? Yeah, most of them, yes. Occasionally, yeah. But every one of them, when you say, have you seen the new college football game? And apparently, they give ratings to all of them, right?
Yep.
And so we would ask the players, what'd you think of your rating? The one common denominator in all of it, every single kid, whether it was a quarterback, a running back, a linebacker, even 2 offensive linemen, said they got jobbed on their speed rating. But my understanding is they can adjust this once the season starts.
If it's anything like Madden, I haven't done enough research. Casey knows a lot more about it than me, but typically with video games, all of them, NBA, Madden, it updates. Like if Jamar Chase goes for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in back-to-back weeks, he's going to get upgraded in pretty much every category. It's not just like if he makes a one-handed catch, like, yeah, his catching's going to go up, but your overall as a player increases with good play. Like it should.
That's right. Okay, it is time now. We're going to roll right into Off the Bench. So we will be back on Monday morning. There'll be a lot to talk about because we'll really be knocking on the door of the trade deadline then. Maybe the Reds do something over the weekend. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Maybe they sit tight. Casey, thank you. Nice to see you. By the way, without the glasses and that little sort of wave thing that you got going for the first time, I mean, you got that DiCaprio look a little bit.
You think?
Yeah.
You like it?
I do.
The chat was very much like pushing back on it. They didn't like it. They didn't like
you're
it.
looking good. You're looking
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep it now just because you
stay
said
with
that.
it. Well, as long as your bride loves it. If Alex likes it, then you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be good.
Lukey, nice seeing you, big boy. A couple people commented that you might want to find a brush.
I know. I need to find a barber is what I need to do.
Well, you know, Reed Mouse's wife is a great hairstylist. She's right around the corner, right?
That's right.
Have you ever been there?
I have not been there, no.
Okay. Well, we might have to try to get an appointment in with her.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. All right. All right. We thank Casey. We thank Luke. Thank all of you for joining us. Thank you, by the way, for so many out there who reached out today and said congrats on the new job with the CW. I'm elated. I'm extremely grateful. And we're not going anywhere. We're still here at Chatterbox. This show will continue on to the dismay and disappointment of many.
Can I say something really quick, Tom?
Of course.
It has been an absolute pleasure to work with you these last couple of years. We started this together.
Yes, we did.
It was you and me,
Yeah.
and it was Seho, and then it was Paul, and then it was Elliot and Jacob. It's been you and me since the start.
No doubt about it.
And it has been one of my dreams with this job to see you finally get back in the
Thank
booth.
you. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind, Casey. You know I love you, buddy. All right. I guess I'm going to be a guest on Off the Bench. They're ready to go. They're beating down the door. Kenner and Whisper and Jim and Jacob and Elliot and everybody, they're ready to go. Reed's on the show today.
Yes.
That'll be big time.
That's a good
All right.
place.
Here we go.
Drop
Here
a
we go.
like. Drop a like. Drop a like.
The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
And here I thought we were going to have an empty studio this morning. We have a full house as we're off and rolling here. Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton, Ohio. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and it's going to take a while to introduce everybody, so let's get right to it. We have plenty to talk about, of course. We'll be talking about Jamar Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase present at camp, but not physically active, taking part in drills and practice. We'll talk about the significance of that. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, is going to join us coming up here in just a little bit to give us all the insight after 2 days of camp, so I'm excited about that. We've got some buy or sells coming up around the corner. We have some headlines. We have plenty to dive into here this morning. Let's get to it. Jimmy, good morning. You're back in your original chair. I like it.
Yeah, I'm back over here. It was a good run over there, but I had to come back.
It was a good run. Casey, good morning. How are you? Double duty. Look at you. Back-to-back shows, off and rolling.
Doing good. Doing great. I'm just doing some last-minute housekeeping things, and I'm ready to roll.
It's the no glasses thing, man. Like, it's the no glass. You're a whole new person. You're a whole new person.
I keep getting that. People keep saying I look like a completely different person. I don't know. I just wanted to change it up.
You look like a whole new person, but same great results, and we appreciate you, no doubt about it. Mr. Thom Brennaman, good morning, sir.
Great to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad. I made you stay a little longer. You're working overtime today.
I am honored to stay. Thank you.
Absolutely. We have plenty to dive into with you. I want to continue introducing everyone. We'll get back to Tom coming up here in just a moment. Uh-oh. Look who it is. Look who it is. And you thought that you only had to be in here when Casey wasn't, present.
Well, you try to kick me off the show. I text you, but last night I say, hey, what are you wearing on the show? I want to make sure that we're like at least a little uniform. And you said, hey, we're just wearing like golf attire. Just wear a polo. And you come in buttoned up shirt. What are you doing to me?
I do TV every Friday morning, so I just have to at least look like I dress professional in the mornings on Friday.
The button, they can't see the lower half, but the button up with the shorts is a unique look. What
you also can't see is something I didn't notice was the coffee stain that's right here that's hidden by the mic that is strategically placed. So yeah,
that's a big league move.
Think smarter, not harder.
From a little league. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. Luke, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It's good to be on Off the Bench. I was here earlier this summer, but pumped up.
We have a couple guys that are going to be going back to college here pretty soon. I'm kind of jealous of that. I miss my college days, to be honest. So I'm happy for you guys, but happy to have you here this morning. Tom, appreciate you giving us some time here today. I was texting Trace earlier in the week. I was like, hey, we want to get Tom to kind of stay back and visit a little bit on Friday. I want to start off. I know you've gotten plenty of this, but congratulations. You're back in the booth, and you're calling college football this fall for CW.
Yep. Football and then basketball, and primarily the Atlantic Coast Conference with the CW Network. They picked up that package roughly about this time a year ago when Bally's and everything they were going through, they had part of this ACC package. CW went in. They're trying to build up their sports department. They've got wrestling now. They've got NASCAR starting up. They've had Live. And now, giving me this opportunity, a second chance, and I hope that I don't work for anybody ever again, so I'm really grateful. I got to read 2 super chats, right, Casey? Can you read them?
Yeah, you want me to?
Oh man, I totally ignored your direction. I mean, not even 2 minutes into the show, and I said, "Forget what Casey says." My apologies.
No, because I screwed this up in the last show. I did not do it.
So 2 super chats. RM with the $2 super chat. Tom, congratulations on your new
Thank
gig.
you, RM.
And Drew Garrison, congrats, Tom. We love and respect you.
Love Drew. Thank you, fellas. Thank you.
Tom, I have to tell you what Casey did last week. I was a little offended, to be quite honest with you. He was out on vacation, all right, and I sent him $20. I Venmo'd him $20 so that him and his wife can get a nice drink on vacation.
Wow.
Well, he was so mad at one of my takes that he couldn't just message in or text me that, hey, I think your take's bad or whatever. He sent $9.99 in on a super chat. I was really, half of what I sent you, you used, and not even a full $10. It was $9.99 to be specific, just to tell me how much you hated my take. That kind of hurt. I'm not going to lie. Elliot says a lot of mean things. Jacob has just been absolutely brutal to me, but that was probably the most painful part of doing this so far. I'm not going to lie.
Wow.
What had you so worked up? What did he say?
Oh, no.
I mean, he was claiming that the NFL doesn't actually, none of the teams actually try to win.
That's not what I said.
That's basically what
that's
you
not what he
said.
said.
That's basically what you're trying
Hey,
to
Jimmy's
say.
defending him. Jimmy, what did he say?
That's not. He said that he wanted to change the NFL draft to where the team that was the first team out of the playoff gets the number 1 overall pick, so you reward them for trying to win.
Yeah, but the point of it was that he was claiming that these teams in the
constantly
NFL,
tank and-
that they constantly are trying to tank, that they're actively trying to lose, and that's just not the
The
case.
insinuation that the
Hold up.
NFL has a
Trying to
competitive
lose.
balance problem is absurd.
First of all, it's that week, with the All-Star break, no baseball going on, not a lot. My suggestion was, I was like, I'm tired of sports rewarding teams for not trying or not winning. I was like, stop rewarding the losing teams and reward the teams that are sitting there right in the middle of the pack, and you reward them for trying. Why should a team like the Steelers, who wins 8 or 9 games, who's not good enough to win a Super Bowl, but they're not just blowing their roster up, they're still trying to win? And besides, it's not like I actually want to see it that way. It was just a suggestion. It was the middle of July. There's no baseball going on. I'm just trying to throw something out there.
You got to get something that sticks.
Yes.
Throw it out there. If it sticks, great.
And then they hit it right back at me. No, Tom, calling football this coming up fall for the CW, predominantly ACC games, correct?
Yeah.
You had a chance to go to ACC Media Days.
Yeah.
Dabo Swinney, an interesting character. I'm fan of Dabo Swinney. We've seen him kind of build up. I mean, look, it's not like he was just winning championships while big programs were down. I mean, he was beating the Ohio States.
Yeah.
They were blowing out Alabama in the national championship game. I mean, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he was putting guys in the NFL. I mean, they were loaded. But he's also regressed. The program's taken a step back. I know he hasn't really kind of leaned into the NIL and the transfer portal and this, that, and the other. He's a very polarizing figure. I'm just curious your thoughts on Dabo Swinney and Clemson
Well,
Tigers.
I spent probably 20 minutes with him yesterday, and as a guy, you can't help but love him. I mean, he's a good dude, man. He's a walk-on in college, grew up in a small town in Alabama. He's just a regular guy. What you see is what you get. And look, he's been slow to embrace this NIL thing. The school has been slow to embrace the NIL thing. Their alumni has been slow to embrace the NIL thing. He's not a fan at all of the transfer portal. To say he hasn't taken any transfers is incorrect, but he's not actively recruiting like a lot of other schools. I tell you, the thing I came away with more than anything, and having not been around the college game since all this stuff started going on, sat with Mac Brown yesterday, who without a doubt is the most interesting guy in the conference. He's been around forever. He's seen it all. He's won national championships at Texas. He's been on television. He's back trying to build it up again at North Carolina. And, when he looks at things, he says, hey, look, credit to the schools, Ohio State, Oregon, some of these schools, that are on it right now in the NIL and on the transfer portal. He said, because everybody is going to want to be like them. So don't berate them for going out. And Dan Lanning said the same thing yesterday. He said, my job is for us to win football games. And whatever way we got to do it that's within the rules, we're going to do it. And so to beat down these schools that are active in the NIL, it was just really interesting. And of course, there's a lot going on in the ACC. You've got Clemson and Florida State who have lawsuits against the conference. And the commissioner, Jim Phillips, he came out and let those schools have it in his opening remarks the first day. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's going to be an ongoing interesting storyline to follow, especially with all the talks of, SEC, the Big Ten.
Yep.
Will they end up there? Now, Luke, you were covering the Big Ten Media Days, and you mentioned Dan Lanning a little bit ago, Tom. One of my favorite quotes from him at Media Days was when everyone's so focused because Phil Knight with Nike came out and said he really wants to see his team win a national championship. Basically, unlimited funds. Whatever you need, you have it. My favorite line from Dan Lanning yesterday was, look, it's like an ice cream cone. If you're paying attention to my ice cream cone, yours is melting in your hand. I thought that was I love that line. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
I mean, the biggest thing I took away from just being there, and even, you're in the same premises as, heck, I was taking a leak at the same time as the Michigan head coach. So I'm like, when you're around these guys and you see the way that they hold themselves at these high programs, it's honestly alarming how many of them almost feel like politicians in today's society. Where like everything they say has to be perfect. They can only talk good about their program. Because if you have one slip up, like the UCLA coach who had a rough presser a couple days ago, it's like, then you lose a transfer, then you lose a booster, then you lose a donor. And all of this stuff is a complete chain reaction, because the second you're riding high, you better stay hot. Because once you're cold, somebody else got hot. And it's just going to be a very volatile up and down thing. And I think that people hate on Dabo for what he's doing, not getting involved. I almost think he's on the perspective of, we're going to stay consistent and try and ride something out here. It might not work. It might be a colossal failure for all we know. But at the same time, there is no consistency with this transfer portal stuff right now. And it's the new way of not just college football, but college athletics.
I'm always a big fan of old school coaches. I love the old school mentality, but these coaches have had to make adjustments.
Yep.
Like Urban, I remember in their early 2000s heading into the 2010s, the game was starting to shift and change, and he changed at Ohio State. He obviously brings in Ryan Day, and they kind of open up the offense. Nick Saban had to do the same thing when he was at Alabama. You look at college basketball. Coach Krzyzewski hated the one and done era, but then found a way to blend it. All right, I'm going to have my veteran players, but still go after the best talent out there. The greatest coaches out there, they adapt and they blend. Obviously, we've seen the drastic changes in sports push some of those legendary coaches out. You guys just had Urban on the show when we were at the Memorial not too long ago. Dabo, I at least appreciate that. I know he's not that old of a coach, but he's still a coach that has those very old school, that old school mentality where he does want to build. He wants to recruit. He wants to bring guys in. He wants to develop, and he wants to have success with his guys. I know you talked about he does go to the transfer portal, fills holes when need be. It is interesting watching the old guard try to adapt to the new way of things, and it's not just college football, but it's college basketball as well.
You said a word that I heard so much that, again, I'm at a college game for a long time, development. You have schools that basically are in two categories, and even inside of the Atlantic Coast Conference. So like we're talking to the Wake Forest coach, Dave Clawson. This guy's truly one of the best coaches in the country. You look at everywhere he's been and where they went and where he took them. It is mind-boggling what a good football coach this guy is. But he's at Wake Forest. And he says, we are a development school. We're not going to get NIL guys. We're not going to get high-profile transfer guys. Guys are going to leave us. Hartman left and went to Notre Dame. He said, so we have to bring in guys as freshmen and do a great job of coaching them and getting them better and try to keep them here so then they're playing as a third-year, fourth-year, fifth-year player. As opposed to the Miamis, right, of Florida or, Oregon or whoever, where, Cristobal's trying to develop players, and he's got a great freshman class. He's done great recruiting. But they hit the lottery in the transfer portal when they got the Cam Ward kid from Washington State or Oregon State. And it's a different world that many of these schools are living in compared to the people that they are competing against. There's clearly a big gap.
You're listening to Off the Bench for our radio audience in Dayton. You're listening to Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. We're live on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We appreciate everyone who hangs out with us each and every weekday, 10 a.m. to noon. Make sure you're hitting the like button down at the bottom. That definitely helps, of course, with the algorithm. Continues to help spread the show, grow the show, so we appreciate that as far as that's concerned. Last thing on the college football, I want to get your take on the Pete Rose documentary and a couple things before we let you go. We appreciate you guys kind of hanging around a little bit. You were at Big Ten Media Days. Tim May, big fan of Tim May. I've known him for a while. He went to Sharon Moore and basically just talked about taking Tony Alford away, which was a big deal, of course. But basically just straight up asked him, what are we going to, when do you expect the NCAA to come down with a punishment and this, that, and the other? How much of that was such a big talking point throughout all of last season? Obviously, Harbaugh in the NFL now. How much of a talking point, Luke, was that yesterday? I know, Sharon Moore, you talked about the coaches, very politician stance. They got to continue to build up their program, and I'm sure he would have loved to talk about what he wants to do, bringing in coordinators, what he wants to do to implement his style. But I'm sure he was getting a lot of the what do you think is going to happen questions.
Yeah, and a lot of it's kind of nonsense. Even on media days, people always want to look at the depth chart, starting quarterback, battles at position groups, and nobody really says anything of importance. It's so early that this is one of the first times right before fall camp starts that, teams aren't even developed yet from who they brought in. Half the team is probably unfamiliar with these late transfers. So Indiana's coach Kirk Cignetti put it this way. He said, hey, we had 20 guys say they were going to leave and hit the portal. We kept 10 or so. We brought in maybe the most in the Big Ten for Indiana because they cleared house with the coaching situation and whatnot. So they lose guys, they bring guys in, they practice for a little, they've been working out all summer, and now is go time in college football where you have to start putting the pieces together, and coaches aren't going to let you into that yet because I don't even think they really know. I think a lot of quarterback positions in specific are up for grabs, and especially the Big Ten. I mean, Ohio State says they have their guy in Will Howard, but nobody knows how he's going to be at the Big Ten level. Michigan has the biggest one of them all. They have 3 guys who arguably could start for that team. So there's a lot more questions on specific stuff that are just simply not getting answered at this time of the year.
Tom, that documentary's coming out. I think it was Sign Stealing, Connor Stallions.
There's a documentary coming out? Really?
Okay. It's going to be on Netflix August 27th. It's coming out. It's basically for him to kind of give his side.
Wow.
I said it's kind of interesting because of the side of the stuff we know, the details that have been made public. We kind of know his side. I'm just very fascinated to see what that documentary, how it's going to be presented, because I still think it's fascinating to see what's going to end up coming out of all of that. I'm a Buckeye fan, right? So right away, everyone just thinks, oh, my hatred for this is just because of that. I'm just fascinated by the detail of what they went into. Again, every team does steal signs to a certain extent, but I don't think every team goes to the point where you have manifestos being written and you're sending guys to various stadiums and hiding in the stands as if you're just a common fan taking in the game. What was your takeaway during that entire stretch? I know it's, Harbaugh's in the NFL. I don't think the story's over with. I think there's still more to come, or is there? Do you think the NCAA just tries to put this behind?
Well, I mean, what they're trying to do is connect the dots. Or they got to connect the dots, whether it's an email, whether it's whatever it might be, a text, whatever. They're trying to connect the dots to Connor Stallions and somebody on that Michigan coaching staff. If that happens, they're in big trouble. Now, I don't know what the investigation is. I have no idea. I can tell you this, though. College football thinks this is a big enough deal that this year is the first time ever college football they're putting the communication inside the helmet. They've never had it. Pro games had it for years. They're doing the same thing with the iPads on the sideline. High school programs are using those things on the sideline. College has never gone to it until this year. And every coach to a man that I talked to the last 4 days said it was because of that sign sealing scandal that it finally got approved.
Yeah, big name coaches have been calling for that for quite some time, no doubt. Do you guys have anything?
I don't have any questions for Tom. It's just good to see Tom back.
Good to see you, Reed, my man.
Yeah, it's good to see Tom.
My man.
Last thing on the way up before we let you two go, appreciate both of you again. Tom and Luke Brennaman here hanging out with us. Dialed in every Monday, 9:15. You can hang out with the Brennamans, of course. I know you guys mentioned with you going back to school, there might be an adjustment made, but love technology because there's still going to be a way to be able to get that show off and rolling throughout the week. So we're excited about that.
Got to lean on Casey.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't get COVID and takes weeks off and all that, right? Like,
looks like DiCaprio.
DiCaprio.
Yeah, I told you that. You that new look. You got a little DiCaprio.
I like it.
You said the wife made you go no glasses, right?
It was a suggestion. Those are always the nice, gentle, you should really not wear glasses anymore.
That was the soft warning shot. That was the nice warning shot.
Yeah.
Just wait. In about 10 years, it's not so nice.
Jimmy, you have anything for Tom or Luke before we let him go?
I do not. I'm glad you guys are here, and it's been.
I like that shirt, Jimmy.
You're looking good, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Looking good.
Tiger stuff was in the wash.
Is it a tanked up kind of a weekend for you boys?
No, I don't really have much going on, to be honest.
Okay.
So probably just hanging out, playing some college football 25.
Tom, you have a chance to watch that Pete Rose documentary yet?
I didn't, and I'm going to look forward to watching it. I couldn't get it in my hotel room down in Charlotte. So, how was it?
We started the first episode last night, but again, I was like, well, I'm interested in this. I talked to Hal McCoy about this. I said, Pete's one of those characters that he's such an open book. I'm like, how much more are you going to learn? But it's still such a cool history lesson, even in the first episode, just based on the Big Red Machine as a whole. I mean, just kind of telling Pete's history and then also implementing the history of the Reds early on, how the Big Red Machine moniker came about. And but I can't wait to finish it.
Well,
I
it was
just
funny
curious,
because when my dad, I understand, is a big part of that thing. And when I had asked him a week ago about, hey, I just read this thing about the Pete thing, he said that interview that he did was at least 2.5 to 3 years ago. Said he couldn't even remember most of the stuff that they talked about. So he said he's going to be surprised when he sees himself on TV during this thing.
Well, it starts, not giving too much, it starts with Pete talking about his thoughts on the Super Bowl when the Bengals were in it and the Rams. So, like, you could tell this footage they've been working on this,
right.
For quite some time.
Yep.
Last thing on the way out, thoughts on the Reds? They going to pull the trigger on any kind of big moves?
I say do nothing. That's just my opinion. I think they're going to do something. I really do. Because I think they feel like they need to show the fans that they're trying to do something. But I just don't think they should. That's just my opinion.
Jonathan India, I know some people think
I keep him.
Trade him.
Trade him.
Trade him.
I understand. Yeah. I understand that. I get it.
Yeah.
I just think there's talent, and then there's just that aura in the clubhouse, and I think he has both right now. Obviously, the talent's matching that aura in the clubhouse. He's been labeled as a leader, and now starting to play like one as well. And I just think they'd be gambling definitely if they decided to move on from him. But they got some decisions to make, and that's coming up Monday, 4 o'clock, the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Thom and Luke Brennaman, thank you guys so much for giving us some time today. Again, Thom, congratulations. We are so happy for you. It was cool seeing the outpouring of support for you. And Luke, we'll have you on again here very soon, especially before you head back to college. And I love that you're a Big Ten guy. I love that you're a Big Ten guy. So we'll definitely be reaching out. So
Thank you.
Thanks. See you, buddy. You guys have a good weekend.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll step away. Just give us a brief moment just to get reset in here, and we'll have more off the bench for you right here at Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.
See you, Thom. Yep, you too. See you, Luke.
See ya.
Thom, thank you. Appreciate you.
See ya.
We are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Shout out to Thom and Luke Brennaman from Dialed In, giving us an opportunity to catch up with them. Again, congratulations to Thom Brennaman. Going to be back in the booth calling college football and basketball starting in the fall for the CW. We got Jimmy, we got Casey, we got Reed, and of course you're stuck with me, Justin Kidder, hanging out with you here today. And look at Reed with all his friends over here.
This is how I typically. Oh, it's nice
actually,
and tight.
yeah,
You see the mustache great.
That's a tight shot. I like that.
Yes,
the
let's
muscles
rock
are
and-
ripping through the shirt. I like it, dude.
Well, see,
you get the
this
muscle
is,
forearms
well,
too.
Listen, you show a move where you hide the coffee stain. I fold my arms over, then I use my little fist, prop it up a little bit.
I'm with you. I feel
I just prop up my muscles a little bit, make them a little bigger. I don't know, so a little manlier. Everyone's talking about how you look hungover today, Kenner.
Do I look hungover? I left the chat alone. I get distracted during the show. Do I really?
I was gonna say there's a little glossy eyes. It smells like I can smell the 80 proof coming out of the sweat.
I didn't get hammered. I'm not Jacob, who's studying. So
your eyes are telling a different story, and then the eyes never lie.
Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We are off and rolling here today on a Friday, nonetheless. But no, Luke, getting to go down to Big Ten Media Days, I think that's pretty cool. Have you guys ever covered a media day or anything? I have not.
I have not.
I've not for anything.
I'm going to this school year for a couple Notre Dame football games, so I'm pretty excited for that. I'm most excited for the one I'm going to Yankee Stadium. So I think that media day will be a little bit more than our average home media day. So I'm pretty excited for that.
So Notre Dame, who are they playing?
They're playing Army. So
Army at Yankee Stadium.
Those uniforms they released the other day are for that game.
So the Buckeyes are playing Northwestern at Wrigley. And some Buckeye fans are mad at that. I'm like, I think that's pretty cool. I don't want to see a lot of football games in stadiums, but I mean, I think it's pretty neat. I think it's kind of a cool little backdrop. I mean, we see bowl games we played there, so I don't mind it.
I had that discussion last night actually with some of my friends we were just talking about the idea of neutral site games in college football and what they think about it, and they were just saying how, we think that probably there are some games that you have to stick, like the Cotton Bowl with Oklahoma and Texas and Army Navy. We feel like those should always be neutral site games. But then you throw in like a couple of these games like Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium or Ohio State playing at Wrigley, where those are cool. But then like Notre Dame plays at MetLife this year against Navy because they refuse to play in Annapolis because the stadium's not big enough. Or I believe that's their reasoning on that. And that's just like, I don't know. It just feels.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I don't think they get too many full houses there. So if you have a draw like Notre Dame coming in, and you can go split the ticket sales with a bigger venue,
right?
But you're right. Like it takes away that mystique when you go play that
and
team
it's just
on the road.
You know, college football and the home atmosphere is such a big deal. It's kind of disappointing when you see a team go like Notre Dame go and play a Navy team who's not that good, when they go play at MetLife and they played at M&T Bank a couple years ago, and it's just not. It's not really college football, I think.
All right. Cincinnati Bengals talk. Jamar Chase, day 2. At camp, didn't participate and was not active in any drills or practice yesterday. I was willing to play nice at first. Zach Taylor has a plan, but 2 days. I have a hard time believing that he had a 2-day plan for Jamar Chase. Regardless of what's going on, my only critique of the Cincinnati Bengals in this is, why are we being weird about it? Like, why aren't we just being transparent? Like, would you guys, like, let's just say that they came out. Let's say Jamar Chase did say, yeah, it is contract related. I'm just trying to get that buttoned up and ironed out. Like, would you guys be angry at that? Like, I don't know why they're just not being transparent, you know, and you could sit there and say it is part of his plan. Well, then Jamar Chase, why, when he's asked about it, does he say no comment? That's fueling into it. That's leaning into it. So for everyone out there, everyone beats up on our team. They play a role in that. Just be transparent. And actually, I don't have a problem. The Bengals PR staff's not bad. I just don't like how they're handling this. Initially, day 1, okay, maybe it is part of easing it in. Still thought it was kind of weird to give him the day off on the first day of camp. But now day 2, you have Joe Burrow's comments yesterday, as we talked about, basically saying, hey, his business is his business. I don't think Jamar Chase's business is Zach Taylor's plan. I think Jamar Chase's business is contract related, which is why Joe Burrow chose not to talk about it. All I'm saying is I don't think it's a big deal if it is contract related, so why don't they just come out and say it? They're making it a big deal by trying to be secret about it, and Zach Taylor talking about a plan. That's just silly to me. Just say it's contract related. Everyone will understand. Even the critics will understand, and everyone just moves on. They'll keep an eye on the storyline. They'll keep an eye on the negotiations. But overall, then the focus can go back to the Bengals and the rest of the players who are actively participating in camp. I think that they are making this worse by not being transparent. Unless I'm wrong, do you guys believe that this is the plan? Do you believe it's contract related? What do you guys think from a Bengals fan perspective?
Why does everyone get out a spade and just start digging into the story and not just take it at what it is at face value? And that is, hey, he's sitting out. The head coach said it was planned that he sit out. Why does it have to be something deeper? Maybe it's a personal issue. Maybe it's something else. But it's not our job. It's not our responsibility to dig any deeper. Like if as a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, which I am,
yep.
When my head coach Zach Taylor says, "Hey, this is all part of the plan. He's going to sit out a couple of days and he's going to be here." I'm going to take that at face value because, believe it or not, I fully believe that Jamar Chase is bought in to what the Cincinnati Bengals are and what they're doing. I brought up this story multiple times. I'll bring it up again. Jamar Chase, when Joe Burrow bought his house, started knocking on doors down the street and said, I want to live by my boy. When Joe Burrow gets a buzz cut, Jamar Chase gets a buzz cut. These two players are so intertwined that I'm not worried about what Jamar Chase is doing. If he doesn't show up for a couple of days of practice and the head coach says this was all part of the plan, then guess what I'm going to believe? I'm going to believe that he missed a couple of days of practice because it was all part of the plan. I don't think that there's anything deeper than what we're seeing at the face value and what the coaches are telling us.
Ooh, that is not the vibe I got from Zach Taylor at his presser yesterday. He was asked multiple times, like, are you okay with this? And his response to that was, we have great communication with our players. Like, he was avoiding answering that this is what he intended to happen. Now, he probably does have great communication with Jamar about this situation, and he's listening to Jamar, and they have a plan, but that plan involves him sitting out at practice. So, that being said, I do think that it's like a nothing burger anyways. Like, he's probably going to still play at the end of the day anyways. So I don't know why they don't just come out and say it. Like, just, yeah, he's probably going to sit out most of training camp. He doesn't want to get hurt. He'll be there when when we need him, right? He's going to play the season, and then we'll renegotiate at the end of the year. Like that's the story. That we already know the whole details of what's going to happen in the next month. I don't know why this is such a big deal for people.
Well, let me ask you a question, Justin.
Yep.
Do you think that Jamar Chase will play for the Cincinnati Bengals this year?
Yes.
Let me ask a second question.
Do
you think that Jamar Chase will play for the Cincinnati Bengals next year?
Yep.
Do you think that Jamar Chase will be a Cincinnati Bengal in, say, the year 2027?
If the Bengals do what they need to, yeah.
More than likely, yes.
Yeah.
So why are we all so wrapped up into the first 2 days of practice? This is just what we've known.
Well, because, again, I think this is a talking point. You can't get mad at guys like Adam Schefter who come out and report what they do. And when they might know something that we don't, I think there's a reason Adam Schefter was as aggressive as what he was when it came to this. I think he knew stuff before it was pretty well aware of some of the stuff going on behind the scenes. I think, look, no one like this storyline, Reed, is not, Jamar Chase doesn't want to be a Bengal. I agree with you. He wants to play with Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he doesn't want to be a Bengal. He does want to be a Bengal, but he wants to be a Bengal for the right price, right? Like, I don't think this is Jamar hates Cincinnati. He wants out of Cincinnati. That's not what I think that this is. Yeah. I think it simply is just a contract and not even a dispute. I've said multiple times, I don't think it's a dispute. I don't think that there's animosity. I don't think that it's getting ugly. I just think it's just contract related. So that's why, and Casey, you talked about it, just say it. Let's just say that they did come out and say it's contract related. What would your reaction be? Like, so you're taking it at face value. It's part of the plan. They're easing them in. That's if that's the plan. But then why is when Jamar Chase asked about it, he just says no comment? Like, what is this secret plan? It's not like it's like you have like the codes to the nukes. Like, I mean, I don't know why you have to be so secret about it. Like that to me, when you're transparent and you give the media the answers, then they can't spin it. When you say no comment, that is actually a comment. That you're saying more with no comment than what you probably would be saying if you just said, yeah, it's contract related.
Yeah, when the reporters asked Zach Taylor, this is what you want. This is something that you're giving your approval to, and he says, "I have great communication with my players." That is a direct avoiding the situation, right? He's avoiding the question about this is what they intended to happen, because this is not what they intended to happen. They want to get a deal done with him. They can't get a deal done with him. But again, let me clarify my position. It's a nothing burger anyways, because he's going to play this year. So I don't know why people are so up in arms about it, because at the end of the day, he's going to be out there week one.
Someone put this in the chat, and I think it's actually a relatively good point. For all the things that we get on about coaches and players and the things they say in press conferences because they are in front of microphones so often, it's also not Zach Taylor's job to talk about contract disputes. That's not his job. It's not Joe Burrow's job to talk about Jamar Chase's contract.
Well,
it's Duke Tobin's and it's Jamar Chase's agent. That's their two jobs.
Here's why I don't feel bad for Jamar, though. Remember when Joe Burrow, when it was time for him to get paid, remember what Jamar Chase was doing? Hey, he knows what he has to do to keep us here. Hey, he doesn't care about money. He cares about winning. He kept talking about other people's contracts. He kept talking about other people's money. Not that he didn't do anything wrong technically, but it's not as if it's not like all these guys have been super buttoned up about other people's contracts. And you're right. And I've argued that for years. I've always said too, coaches don't owe us anything. Players don't owe us anything. But from my perspective, from where I work, when you don't have to give me anything, but when you don't give me anything, you leave it all up for speculation at that point. And then that's where these things kind of run off, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I keep asking the same question over and over. Why is it a big deal? Just if it is contract related, why not just say it? And if it's not contract related, then it's also still weird, because this plan that he's talking about, no one else executes this plan. That's why people are curious, is he some genius that has this plan that no one else has ever heard of? I'm not mocking it. It's just none of it makes any sense. That's all. And I want to know what the end game is, because I agree. I didn't think that we'd be at this point this offseason or at this camp. I thought this would be a next camp thing, where we'd be talking about Jamar's contract. I mean, I feel like he's using the leverage of starting this a season earlier, catching everyone off guard a little bit. So I want to know what the end goal is okay, the Bengals who don't bow down. I'm fascinated by this. And look, no one's picking on the Bengals. People are doing the same talking points with Brandon Ayuk. They're doing the same talking points with CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. I don't think the Bengals are being picked on, but the Bengals are the only one that continue to say no comment. It's part of the plan. and they're just leaving it up for speculation for everybody else.
If the Bengals, and I truly believe this, if the Cincinnati Bengals intentions are to get an extension done with Jamar Chase at some point before his current rookie deal ends, then I don't care the timeline of when it happens. Joe Burrow signed his contract 10 minutes before the NFL season kicked off last year. It wasn't during training camp. It wasn't during preseason. It was 10 minutes before opening kickoff. So I don't care if Jamar Chase signs his extension now. I don't care if he signs it 15 minutes before opening kickoff in Kansas City. And I don't care if it's week 10, because I know it's going to get done. I know that he's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal for years to come, and that's all that matters.
So you're right. So the Joe Burrow deal getting done, but Joe Burrow was at camp. Joe Burrow was participating. Joe Burrow wasn't sitting out. You're 1,000,000% correct. If Jamar Chase, Casey and Jimmy, if Jamar Chase is participating in practice the last 2 days, and I'm still leading off the show with, why haven't they got the contract done? Yes, I'm absolutely crazy and insane, and I'm just being an idiot at that point. But he's not out there. Joe Burrow was out there. Joe Burrow was, he was continuing to lead the team. He was continuing to be at practice every day. He wasn't sitting out. It's the not participating in practice. That's what has people talking. The contract's only being talked about now because it started with the Adam Schefter, stirring the pot. But it come to find out, he's stirring the pot because he was aware of stuff before camp initially got underway. He set it up perfectly. Him not being out there is why people are talking about it. But yes, will a deal get done? Yes. But let's not act like, okay, we talk about the slow starts for the Cincinnati Bengals the last couple of years. There's been a lot of reasons why that is, and whether it's because not playing starters during preseason, whether it is the injuries, and I think it's all the above. There was a lot of things, a conglomerate of issues that led to the slow starts. But again, the one common trend was guys just not being readily available during camp, Joe Burrow not being healthy. Well, now you get Joe Burrow healthy, and now Jamar Chase, who's healthy, we're told, but just not practicing. This could just be another offseason where you have another key piece who's not a part of everything throughout this next month. That could be an excuse for why they start out slow again. Everyone just thought it was going to be a clean start to camp. Everyone's, you got the Hendrickson drama figured out. You got the T. Higgins stuff figured out. Everyone was pretty much healthy. Joe Burrow got the clean bill of health, 100% healthy. It was like refreshing for Bengals fans because we have nothing. We're just heading in, focused on being a Super Bowl contender, and now we got this. And I think that's where the frustration's coming from. And I think now even the front office is like, well, damn, I thought we were set. Now we got this noise. And everyone's right. The Bengals, they don't bend. They do not bend. They never bend. They never have bent. But we have a special player in Jamar Chase, and that's what makes this fascinating. Who's going to win this tug of war? That's what I'm fascinated about.
Yeah, I think it's annoying from a fan perspective that there is this drama and that Jamar Chase isn't playing. But like Reed was saying, at the end of the day, we know it's going to get done. It's not like Jamar Chase doesn't want to be here. It's not like he and Joe Burrow are best friends. I just think that he sees these guys like Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle getting these contract extensions now. Joe Burrow got his contract extension early also, and I think he's just like, let's go, let's get this done. I want to be here. Make me the highest paid receiver in the NFL so I can stay here and be a Cincinnati Bengal. And I think that maybe the sitting out is just to avoid a little injury that could delay that or have the Bengals lose faith in giving him a contract extension. But I at the end of the day, I think it's kind of annoying that this is a talking point because we all know why this is happening, and we all know how it's going to end, and it's going to end with Jamar Chase on a big contract extension. So, I think that's that. You know
what? You're right. It is annoying. It is annoying that other teams, other fans grab their chisel. They grab their chisel. Oh, well, you want to make fun of the Cincinnati Bengals for decades? They can't win a playoff game. They're cheap. No indoor facility. Oh, we get the indoor facility. Oh, we make renovations to the stadium. Oh, we start winning playoff games. And now they're just chiseling away. What can we strike out? Oh, Trey Hendrickson doesn't want to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, he does. T. Higgins doesn't want to play for the Yeah, he does. Joe Burrow's injury. Well, we'll see about that one. That one might be true. But Jamar Chase doesn't want to be a Cincinnati. Yeah, he does. Zach Taylor, he's a great coach too. People just grab their chisel and they want to just chisel down the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's just not. It doesn't faze them.
Who's handing him the chisel? Who's handing him the chisel though? Trey Hendrickson's the one that went public saying I want out though. Jamar Chase or T. Higgins is the one that came out and said I want to be traded.
Which happens at the other 32 teams.
But they get the same treatment. You're doing this like it's only happening to the Bengals.
Everyone talks about the loudness of the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't look at the loudness of all the other teams in the NFL.
I totally disagree. What do you mean? Like that's what all people talk about. The Cowboys and the 49ers. Like they're having contract disputes too, though.
Okay, who's had the loudest offseason? Probably this NFL. Because I have an option that I don't think that you're going to like. The Super Bowl reigning champs, the Kansas City Chiefs.
And they get a lot of noise.
Like 3 to 4 legal problems. We're not talking contract disputes. We're talking legal problems. We're talking about a guy that has been a politicized figure and their kicker. Your kicker is making waves? How does that happen? But here we want to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals because, a couple guys that have had contract. Trey Hendrickson has one of the best years at a defensive end has ever had for a Cincinnati Bengal, and he wants to get paid a little more. But guess what? You signed a contract, you're going to play the contract, and guess what's going to happen? He's going to play that contract. T. Higgins wants to get paid like all the other wide receivers that are getting paid. Nothing wrong with that, but guess what, brother? You're going to sign the franchise tag. You're going to go play somewhere else next year. Jamar Chase wants a contract extension, one that the Cincinnati Bengals have said that they are going to get done eventually. Well, guess what? He's probably going to get a contract extension. He's going to play for the Cincinnati Bengals at some point. I'm not worried.
The story, and again, because last thing on this on the way out, Casey, him not being out there is a big deal, right?
He's there. I think the
You're right. Sorry, you're right. My apology. He's still being like that's why I don't think there's tension yet because he's still out there supporting his teammates. I don't think it's got to the point to where he is starting to, have animosity towards his team.
Yeah, I don't think, to Reed's point, I don't think this is the biggest news story in the NFL. We cover it because we're the Cincinnati, local outlet here. So we talk about it because it's local news. But that being said, I don't think that it's time to hit the panic button. I don't think you're hitting the panic button, which I think is
I'm
what
just
your
questioning.
point.
I just want answers.
Yeah, you just want answers to the question. I think it's there in front of us. I don't think we need to speculate. We know it's contract.
Fair.
And it's going to probably not get done until next offseason. And that's just the way it's going to be because that's how most of these contracts end up playing out for these receivers. It's how the Bengals usually do it. He's going to be there week 1, and that's all I care about. He's a freak. He doesn't need to necessarily be out there. That's the thing.
Reed said chiseled earlier. Speaking of chiseled, Jamar Chase chiseled as could be the guys. You're right. He's a freak.
That being said, I don't think there's any reason to panic. It is going to be about this contract, but who cares? Because we already know how the Bengals operate. We already know how the trends are in the NFL. It's going to be next offseason. We'll see if he plays, but I don't think it matters if he plays because, again, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he has a connection with Joe Burrow that not very many receivers, let alone players, have with each other. So,
all right, coming up here in a little bit, we will be joined by Bengals beat writer Jay Morrison with Pro Football Network. The reason I reached out to him yesterday, too, was the tweet saying Zach wouldn't say if Chase's absence is contract-related, just said he has a plan and he has been in constant communication. But there has never been, and Jay Morrison saying this, but there's never been a plan that involves sitting a healthy player for the first 2 days of camp. Zach also would not say what the plan is for Jamar Chase on Friday. And again, so Jay Morrison, from a media perspective, pursuing answers as well. And that's what I meant by when you don't get the answers, when you don't get those answers, it's open-ended and people start filling the gaps. And sometimes that could be worse than the actual answer.
I do think that the way that Zach has answered it, I think people are saying oh, this is what you intended. No, his plan is to work around the fact that he's holding in. He's going to get reps for Yoshi at the slot now when he didn't get any last season.
Yep.
He was always primarily on the outside. He's getting reps in with these other guys. So that's their plan, right? That's when he's saying, this is part of the plan. He already knew about this probably weeks ago. And he's got it formulated down to where they're not freaking out, where they know what they're going to do if come first team and Jamar Chase isn't out there. They know exactly who they're going to send out, who needs the reps here, who needs to work on this while Jamar's out. So,
can you put a poll in the chat? Are we able to do that? Just because we could talk about whether we think it's a concern or not, but I'm curious, everyone in the chat, we appreciate you, their thoughts as well. So just put a poll up. Curious, is Jamar Chase's absence the first 2 days of camp? Are you concerned? As far as that's concerned, and we'll keep an eye on the results of that poll coming up here throughout. All right, you're listening to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. No Jacob today. He's off taking care of class-related stuff. Elliot is on vacation, so shout out to those two. Appreciate Reed stepping in. I know he's a little angry at me, but I do appreciate you, Reed. I really, really do. Jimmy, you the man. Got Casey back as well, so we still have plenty more to get into. Jay Morrison, we'll hang out with him coming up later on in the program as well. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner with you here Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We got Jimmy, we got Casey, we got Reed, all here on a Friday. We'll be joined by Jay Morrison. Pro Football Network covers your Cincinnati Bengals. He'll join us later on in the show. If you're just tuning in and hanging out with us, shout out to Thom and Luke Brennaman. They opened up the show with us. Again, congratulations to Thom. Again, going to be calling college football and basketball starting this fall on the CW. No Elliot, but there's still time for headlines. So now, of course, are we gonna run the sounder? Are we gonna do the sounder even in Elliot's absence, Casey?
We can if you want.
Let's do it. All right, it's now time for Elliot, despite him not being here, Elliot's headlines.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
All right, headlines. Right off the bat, look, with camp underway, there's a lot of story, whether it's contracts, holdouts, sit-ins, injuries. Luckily, that's not been a talking point for Cincinnati at this point. That's a good thing. But injuries around the league, one key one that everyone's kind of keeping an eye on, especially in the AFC North. Haven't heard much of an update as far as how severe it was, but Russell Wilson did miss yesterday's practice due to calf tightness. Justin Fields took all first-team reps. You guys hear that? Thoughts on that? First of all, thoughts on that QB battle right off the bat, and thoughts, man. Russell Wilson brought in. Every Steelers fans all excited about that already. You guys know the calf injury, the calf concerns. That's a lingering thing that takes a while to heal. How concerned should Steelers fans be about Russell Wilson's calf injury that allowed him to miss yesterday's practice?
Yeah, that's cool. Mike Tomlin, being a coach there as long as he is, that he sometimes get critiqued for not trying new things, but having a kick returner take first team reps as your quarterback, that's a pretty new addition to the National Football League.
Took me a second, but well played.
Yeah. No, I think that their team won 9 games last year. Did they win? They won 10 games last year with Kenny Pickett. To say that I'm scared about the Pittsburgh Steelers, certainly. Maybe they terrorized me for so long in my youth that I just think that they're always going to be good. But they got better at the quarterback position. Either one of those guys are better than Kenny Pickett. I do think Russell Wilson's a far superior quarterback than to Justin Fields. And I don't anticipate that Justin Fields will be the starter this year.
Yeah, no, I don't think Justin Fields will be the starter this year. I think maybe he'll get some snaps in a couple games. I'd be interested to see if they do any kind of trickery style stuff with Justin Fields, because
just take advantage of his athleticism, speed.
I do think that he's a weapon that they will have, that I hope that they use, because at the end of the day, he wasn't set up well in Chicago, and as much as I dislike Justin Fields because of the way that the Chicago media kind of forced him onto me, I dislike him for really no apparent reason, but he's not a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. And even though Russell Wilson takes a lot of slander, I think, for how he's kind of fallen off the past couple years, I do think he'll be the starter. But I do think that they can use Justin Fields in a lot of different ways to win football games, whether that be at kick returner, like Reed said, or maybe run some trickery, line him up at receiver, and have him throw a few passes. I mean, the Steelers, at the end of the day, they're probably going to win 9 or 10 games, because they always do with Mike Tomlin. And
no rhyme or reason for it either, just automatically.
Yeah, they were terrible last year, and not fun to watch at all with Kenny Pickett, and they found a way to win 10 games, of course. So I know people always ask, is this the year that they're not going to be over 500? Probably not. because they still have Mike Tomlin. So we'll see. I think they'll be a little bit more fun this year having those two guys back there.
Yeah, and Casey, before I get to you, let me ask you guys, because it's not like I watched a ton of Broncos games last year. I'm not a Broncos aficionado by any means, but like the name itself, when you hear, oh man, Russell Wilson's injured and the Steelers may not have him or whatever, it sounds like a big deal, but it might is it a big deal? I mean, Russell Wilson, who is he as a quarterback to you guys? Because we know how good he used to be. We know, I mean, look, he won a Super Bowl, been to multiple Super Bowls, but who is Russell Wilson today? I mean, is this a thing? Like, how tight is this quarterback competition going to be, assuming he is healthy moving forward?
I don't think people realize statistically, how good of a year Russell Wilson had last year. 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's a Pro Bowl level quarterback.
The 8 that's a low number. That's what a lot of people were really impressed with.
26 touchdowns too, right? Like that's a pretty good quarterback. I just think he didn't get along. I don't think he got along with Sean Payton because he does have kind of jarring personality. I don't know the guy. Never will meet the guy, more than likely. But from everything you hear, not an easy guy to get along with. A lot of people think he's a bit of a phony. And Sean Payton clearly wanted him out the door. That being said, pretty productive year last year to where if he matches that, if he has the exact same year this year that he had last year, this Pittsburgh Steelers team is winning 12 games. This team is much, much better, even playing in the tough division that is the AFC North. But all that being, like, I don't think Justin Fields is a very good quarterback. I don't think that we've seen anything from him. Certainly spurts of being an exceptional player. But we're here in year 4. Has there ever been a quarterback in the history of the NFL that has been a starter for 3-4 years? It's year 4 for him, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Has been a starter for 3 years. And he's been meandering around mediocre. And then he explodes in year 4 to being an elite guy. I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think that has ever happened.
It happened. It has not. I'm sorry. It has not happened. I'm glad that you asked that because I've thrown that out there before. I know a lot of people, Buckeye fans, a lot because I deal with Ohio State fans.
He's still developing. He's still young. It's like we're 3 years
Year
in.
4, yeah.
So
we're
like,
3 years in the NFL. If you don't got it by now, like we've seen guys not play. We've seen like Jordan Love didn't play, and then he popped to be a pretty good quarterback. We've seen that, but we haven't seen a guy start for 3 years, and he's just been
Josh Allen's the only one. Josh Allen
that was year 3 or 2.
No, you're right. Like I'm saying, like that's the only one I could think of that just did not look the part right away, and then exploded, right? But like not 3 or 4 years into the league. I think at this point you are who you are, and I think Fields is a backup quarterback, and I don't think he's a bad backup quarterback, right? Like so. If that's why I do think it's a big deal. The fact that Russell Wilson has that calf injury that could potentially be lingering, it's a good thing you have Justin Fields, but I don't think it's a good thing if you're heading into the season week 1, Casey, with Justin Fields as your starter.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that will always give me PTSD is hearing a calf injury, especially in the preseason. That's not good. I mean, he might not be the same until week 5? Who knows? That's a big deal for the Steelers. I really, really liked Russell Wilson to the Steelers, not as the fan, but as the NFL guy. That team is the best situation for Russell Wilson. Fits him schematically. He's got a really good defense behind him. They can have a great run game to lean on. And he's got some horses on the outside. Guys that can just go catch the go ball. That's what Russell Wilson is really good at, hitting people down the seams. So him missing practice with a calf injury, not great for the Steelers. Justin Fields, however, as a Bengals fan, I think that's what you want. I think you want Justin Fields to take as many reps away from Russell Wilson as possible because Justin Fields, we've dubbed him the fidget spinner on this show many times. So not a good quarterback.
That's a good point. Like. I am more scared, and this is saying a guy that's in the twilight of his career like Russell Wilson. So you know that it's never going to get back to what he was. I am more scared of Russell Wilson than I am of Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields is going to pop. In fact, I believe that it's not going to happen at all. I want Justin Fields to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I realize you can clip this up all you want. All the Ohio State fans, Steeler fans, you can clip this up all you want if he pops out to be, because I don't think that's a likely outcome. If Justin Fields is the starting quarterback of Pittsburgh, they will take a step back.
We don't agree on a lot, right? I think that's known. We agree on that 100%. Like I said, I deal with Ohio State fans all the time, and although the Bears did not do him any favors by any means, don't get me wrong, I don't think all of it was on the Bears. I just don't think. I mean, everyone talked about his athleticism, his ability to run the football, but I'm like, I need my quarterback to throw. Like, it's great that you can run, but we have running backs. I need you to throw. But I agree with you. From a fan of another AFC North team, I would be glad to see Justin Fields start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so a little Browns headline quick. Not forcing the Browns on you guys, I promise. But again, a very similar situation to in Cincinnati. You know, we talked, was it yesterday's show or 2 days ago, about Zach Taylor and the play calling responsibilities, right? Every time the Bengals start slow, he needs to stop calling plays. You know, we've talked about that in the past. Kevin Stefanski, two-time coach of the year, has worked with the mess of a Browns offense with all the carousel of quarterbacks, right? But still continues to put out one of the more efficient offensive teams in the league. I guess it was breaking news yesterday that Kevin Stefanski announced that he is going to continue on with the play calling duties despite bringing Ken Dorsey on as the offensive coordinator in the offseason. From a Browns fan perspective, I don't know why. You hired him because of his offensive prowess, but we're trying to push him away from what got him the job in the first place. Same thing with Zach Taylor. You bring Zach Taylor on because of his offensive prowess, and then you want him to stop calling plays. It's like, well, if that's what he was hired for because of that ability, and if he can't do that, then that means he doesn't need to be the coach. Kevin Stefanski, I'm glad that he is continuing to call the plays. But yeah, two-time coach of the year. I don't know why you would take the play calling responsibilities out of his hands, especially considering 5 different quarterbacks last year. He's had to work with Baker Mayfield. He's had to work with Deshaun, who has not been the Deshaun he was in Houston. I give him a lot of credit for what he's been able to do despite the mess at quarterback in that offense at times.
Kevin Stefanski, and I'm saying this for a guy that has won, 2 Coach of the Year honors, is still underrated as a head coach. I truly believe that. I defend Zach Taylor tooth and nail. I make fun of Mike Tomlin, I make fun of the Browns, and I hate the Ravens. That being said, Zach Taylor might be the worst head coach in the AFC North.
Might be.
He might be. Because, and I'm saying that thinking that Zach Taylor's job is secure, and it should be secure here for a half decade. He should be here for a long time. As long as Joe Burrow's here, I want Zach Taylor here. But Kevin Stefanski is that good of a head coach. And a dumpster fire that is the Cleveland Browns organization, he has brought some stability. Yeah, this is good news, I think, for the Browns.
All right, next up, again, non-football related news. How about this? We're talking about Tom a little bit ago about that the Michigan sign-stealing scandal, when we can expect a punishment for the NCAA to be handed down. How about this one? Canada's women's national team head coach Bev Priestman has been removed from the country's Olympic team over a scandal involving the use of drones to spy on an opponent's practice. I get everyone's looking for a competitive advantage in any sport, but I don't understand the obsession going to this level. Spygate with the Patriots years ago. And in fact, that was a time when the Cincinnati Bengals were involved, and that was a bad Bengals team. That's what I always laugh at. Like when Michigan was trying to steal signs from Michigan State. I'm like, what are you doing? And no offense, it's not a shot at the Bengals, but that was a bad Bengals team. Why did the big bad Patriots need to steal signs from the Cincinnati Bengals? It's always teams that are like the bully, like the bigger, stronger team, always spying on a lesser team. This was a team that they could have easily beat. It doesn't make any dang sense. It's wild to me the lengths that teams go and are willing to risk getting caught. But yeah, using the drone to spy is just kind of wild.
I like that we as a nation, it feels like sometimes you watch the national news and it feels like our nation is in decline, but we are still innovating. Bev Priestman taking a play right out of Bill Belichick's playbook, and I love it. If there's one thing that America has taught you and has taught other nations, it's that cheaters prosper, baby. We're prospering all the way to the top. So maybe, you know what? Go ahead and get the future Canada women's national team to win gold. I'm taking it.
All right, last one here on headlines. Jimmy, I don't know, we talked about this before the show started. Another arrest for a Georgia football player. Georgia wide receiver Rara Thomas has been arrested on 2 counts of battery and 1 count of cruelty to children. Look, Georgia is a powerhouse. Georgia is a dynasty right now in college football. We had kind of 2 overlapping dynasties in college football with Alabama and Georgia, both out of the SEC. Saban leaving kind of leaves Alabama a little vulnerable, still very good. But, man, it's like when you get to the top, it is so difficult to keep these teams rolling without a bunch of noise. I think that's why we should probably respect what Alabama and Nick Saban was able to do. Urban couldn't do it successfully at Florida and Ohio State. I mean, he was successful there. They won championships, but he couldn't lead them successfully without a bunch of noise surrounding him. And now Kirby Smart, who I'm a big fan of despite not liking Georgia, I think that 1-2 mistakes is fine. These are young adults, but, man, it just seems every other week something is coming out. This program has a problem. Kirby Smart has a problem on his hands.
Yeah, I think that Georgia was very likable when they kind of came onto the scene in that, what was it, 2021 season with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. And I think that ever since then, I've kind of liked them more than, I liked Bama in their prime days. And I think it's a little disappointing to see. I think Kirby Smart is a great coach. It's disappointing to see all this stuff happening to him and his teams during this incredible run that he's on right now. I believe that they're title favorites again this year. And, I think it's tough to handle when you get to the top. And like you said, it's a lot of credit to Nick Saban and Alabama, who kind of put all that aside and, not that
there was ever any drama, but overall, he even went out clean. He went out, on top.
It's disappointing to see all this stuff coming out about Georgia, and it's making them less likable. And I know a lot of people don't like them because of SEC and they're, just the SEC hatred, and because people think that there's an SEC bias. But I hope that, I hope that they do well this year for Kirby Smart's sake. But yeah, there's not really. It's just I feel like it's going to keep happening at this point. It's happened so many times. Like, what's the count at for the amount of?
I don't have that in front of me, but I mean, at least this offseason, this is like the 4th different incident just this offseason alone, whether it be the street racing and all the other issues that they've had with the rest.
And ever since the whole Jalen Carter incident, I feel like it's at least 20-ish incidents that they've had over these last couple of years, and I just think it's not a great look for college football in the SEC when your top team, who's been pretty much dominating college football for the past 3 years, outside of Michigan this year, who honestly, had they put Georgia in the playoff, I would have been like, okay, they got it. They put the best 4 teams in. So it's you don't like to see the face of college football, the face of the sport, really kind of creating bad light on itself.
Every sport needs a villain, and that might be Georgia now. All right, that was top headlines here off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Jimmy, Casey, and Reed hanging out with us here today again. And shout out to Elliot. Hope he's enjoying his vacation. And shout out to Jacob. I hope he's studying hard and he's passing those tests nonetheless. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, another no-hitter in baseball yesterday. And I know we briefly touched on this not too long ago, but the significance of the no-hitter, I started kind of diving into how many no-hitters by year that we've had as of late, where it's kind of washed down, not the significance, but just how rare it is to see this. But only the second one of the year. Can we expect to see more? We'll talk about that when we come back. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. You know what? The Washington Nationals can kick rocks, man. I tell you what, they sweep the Cincinnati Reds coming right out of the All-Star break, and then just after they had their little fun with the Reds beating up on them for a bit, well, they just returned back to your regularly scheduled programming. I mean, they've just been bad ever since, and they get no hit yesterday. Shout out to Dylan Cease again, throws a no-hitter against the Nationals. It's the second no-hitter in Padres history. And I was like, man, we haven't really had many no-hitters this season. Usually I feel like I think we've had like at least 4 no-hitters in 4 of the last 5 years, and the only reason we didn't have it for 5 straight years is because of the fact that, well, that COVID year was a 60-game truncated season because of COVID, obviously, as as we just mentioned. But, second no-hitter yesterday. Dylan Cease comes away with that. Reed, I know, just your thoughts on the no-hitter. Is that's no longer like that highly anticipated thing you hope to see when you go to a ballpark anymore, is it? What's the most rare thing when you go to the ballpark? Like, that used to be the thing. Is that the thing that you still hope to see when you go to a ball game now?
Certainly, yeah, certainly. When you go to the game, you still want to, you still are hoping for a no-hitter. Me and my wife, we went to Denver back in May for my birthday. And we went to a concert the night before. I think the Rockies were playing like the Athletics, and we would go to Coors Field the next night. And I'll be honest, we were a little banged up already from the night prior and the day of drinking around Denver, and to where we just waited till both teams got a hit and we left. It was like the fourth inning. We're like, all right, no-hitter, we're good to go. Yeah, you still anticipate seeing. You still want to see the no-hitter. I think that it's become a take. No-hitters don't mean anything anymore. There's too many no-hitters. Yeah, what are you talking about? I think in 2012 there were 7 no-hitters. In 2011 or 2010 there were 5 no-hitters. In 1991 there were 5 or 6 no-hitters. The reason that we don't think of no-hitters the way that we used to is because the love for baseball is quietly being shifted away. The reason that we don't is because it's becoming out of the national eye. Baseball is a regional sport. And I necessarily don't think it's because of anything baseball has done. I think it's more of a fact of the NFL has just become a juggernaut and has taken everyone's attention away. The NFL has made the NBA feel regional. The NBA or the NFL has made college basketball feel not as important. It's just swallowed up so much attention that you can't divvy up your attention everywhere. And I don't think that it's no-hitters going away. In fact, no-hitters should become even more rare because pitchers aren't going as long. There's not as many complete games as there used to be. There are combined no-hitters, which I would argue are actually harder than full no-hitters, regular no-hitters. I don't think it's necessarily a thing of they're just happening too frequently. I think it's just the fact that people don't care about baseball as much as they used to. That's why no-hitters don't feel as important.
I'm glad you brought up the number, like the no-hitters, especially in the 2012, 11, 10. Like, you would anticipate the way people talk is that, man, those would have been like 0, 1, maybe 2. And then now we have 4, at least 4 in 4 the last 5 years. I mean, you go back to 2021, 9 no-hitters that year. That's the most no-hitters, combined no-hitters in an entire season in the history of baseball. That was the year that Wade Miley with the Cincinnati Reds got a no-hitter as far as that's concerned. Look, and you brought up a good point too. I know people who try to water down the no-hitter. I know people like they want to see the cycle too, which, by the way, I don't know why it always has to be cycle versus the no-hitter. Why can't they just all be great to go and witness? But you are right. Like, I think despite the fact that we do see so many no-hitters, and it's not like 4 is a big number, by the way. It's only the second one this season. But I am surprised when people bring this up because baseball's changed so much, to Reed's point. The fact that anyone's able to actually go out and throw a no-hitter just based on the way the game's managed today, obviously with the advanced analytics, you don't want to let guys go too deep into ball games, right? And that's not an advanced analytic thing. That's just, obviously trying to, save the wear and tear on an arm throughout a 162-game season. Hell, Paul Skeens got pulled, 7 innings? Was it 2 weeks ago? He got pulled after the 7th inning after a no-hitter, and everyone had lost their mind. Then he takes a no-hitter into the 9th the other day. Wasn't it the other night that he had the no-hitter going into the 9th and gave it up there? And then everyone's like, oh, he should have been taken out because they end up losing the ball game, right? Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I do think in today's baseball, it is more appreciated how difficult it is because managers have to make that tough decision to go against their gut and let them go out to continue trying to pull it off.
But then at the same time, when people are like, oh, they should have let him go, and they get mad that they take him out. If they take him out and the team finishes with a combined no-hitter, people are like, oh, it doesn't count. But at the end of the day, they still no-hit the other team. The team had 0 hits. The Phillies got no-hit in the World Series by the Astros, and no one ever talks about that.
So Reed just said. So you like the combined? Like, you think the combined no-hitter is underrated?
No. It is. It doesn't draw like a one pitcher doing it. I think it is harder. My take is that I think it's harder to do the combined no-hitter. And you could ask me why, Reed. Like, you're putting in different pitchers that are coming in loose. They're not getting worn down. You're asking now 3-4 pitchers to be on. Mm-hmm. You're not asking, like, sometimes a guy's just got it that day. Just famous. Justin Verlander can't hit him today. Nolan Ryan can't hit him today. It doesn't matter. Now you're asking 3 pitchers, and they're only going for an inning, which is much easier. Like, it's just you're asking for more. You're asking for 3 guys to be on. And I think that's harder. I don't think it's as attractive. as a baseball fan, as much as I love baseball, it's certainly not as attractive when 3-4 guys combine for the no-hitter. Yeah. I don't think that's a tough take, but I do think it is harder to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't by any means think it's more attractive because having one guy come out and throw 125 pitches and no-hit the other team is pretty awesome. But I just think that kind of with the way that baseball fans have I feel like baseball is, like Reed said, a more regional sport now. And I think people either now want the game to go super fast or they want to see a bunch of offense. And with no-hitters, obviously there's not a lot of offense in no-hitters. And when there's not a lot of offense, people don't necessarily want to watch. And then if it ends up having to be a combined no-hitter, then people kind of get mad. But if the guy's at 120 pitches or 115 pitches in the 7th or 8th inning, you got to take him out, especially with the popularity now of velocity in the MLB, and you're seeing all these star arms getting hurt. I just think no-hitters are awesome, and it's kind of disappointing to see that people don't really take them as seriously anymore.
Which would you rather see as a fan? You go to you buy your ticket and you get to see one of these single. Would you rather see a no-hitter or would you rather see a cycle? Because cycles are more rare. I know they happen they have about the same amount of like 260 or something like that. Both have happened around 260 times. But you got to remember there's 9 hitters per team. There's one starting pitcher per team. So it is more rare for a cycle. Which would you rather see?
I think the no-hitter keeps people more engaged longer just because the pitcher's out there longer. It's where you have to wait
half the game.
4 or 5. You know what I mean? Okay,
Right.
Ellie goes up. All right, he gets the single, the double, the triple. Now you got to wait another inning, maybe 2 innings before he's up again. Every inning, the pitcher's out there. So I just feel like you would be more invested into the no-hitter, especially after that 4th or 5th inning. That's when you start scooting up in your chair. If you have to go to the bathroom, you might start holding it a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know what? Maybe I don't need that 4th beer. I don't want to miss it, especially today with the pace of play picking up. You might miss something. So, yeah, I would rather see the no-hitter. I just think it keeps you engaged a little longer to the game.
Okay, would you rather see 4 home runs, a player hit 4 home runs, or a player or a pitcher strike out 21 guys?
Ooh.
Gosh, that's a good question.
The same player hit 4 home runs?
Scooter Gennett.
Yeah.
I think Scooter Gennett was the last Red to do that for Cincinnati.
There's only been like 10 guys that have done it in the MLB.
It doesn't happen very often. Man, you know what? I'm still going to go with the strikeout thing again because I think after the 3rd inning, you start like, man, how many can he keep going? Can he keep doing this? I'll still go that route as well. But if it's at home, and by the way, because regardless, home or away, you're still going to be invested. I think, at home, Scooter Gennett did it at home, and that place just absolutely erupted, so that added to it. But if he does it on the road, I don't think it's as exciting. So I'm going to go with the pitching route again on that one.
I would go no-hitter over cycle. I'll go 4 home runs over 21 strikeouts or a perfect game or anything. I'll take 4 home runs. I think that'd be incredible to see.
Jimmy, you?
In terms of if it's at home, I'm definitely taking 4 home runs. I think that the probability of a hitter hitting 4 home runs is very, very low. So I think it'd be pretty awesome to see a player hit 4 home runs in a game. And I've watched my team get struck out 20 times, so I can't say I had the most fun watching that. So I'd probably rather see one of my guys hit 4 homers or any guy hit 4 homers in a game because you're maybe going to get 5 at-bats, probably only 4. So a home run in every at-bat is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning more towards the 4 home runs as well. The other one was cycle and no-hitter.
Yep.
I'm an offensive guy, man. I just like seeing people crush the ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably lean more towards the cycle, but I am.
The thing about the cycle is like Kenner said, it's like a pitcher's out there half the game. Cycle, you're going to get 5 at-bats, 6 at-bats, and you get excited. And you're not even really getting excited. You start getting excited for the no-hitter around the 5th inning, I'd say.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, man. He's throwing pretty well. Like the cycle, if he gets a triple and a double or a triple and a home run in his first 2 at-bats, then you're like, okay, we got something here. I can't even really get excited for a cycle unless they get the triple early. If they get the home run, double, single, I'm like, yeah, he's a triple away, especially at Great American Ballpark. What's he going to do, hit a triple? Ellie can hit a triple. Who else can hit a triple there?
Right.
The field's so small. The only final thing, and I know we've gone way over time. I know we've gone way over time on this segment. The only other thing I would ask is, would you rather see a career milestone to where you're buying a ticket. You're like, hey, I'm going to go see someone hit their 3,000th hit. I'm going to see someone throw their 3,000th strikeout. I'm going to see someone hit their 500th home run. Or would you rather see a one-off to where, like, you don't know what you're buying. You're just going to the game, but you see a 4-home run game. You see a no-hitter. You see a perfect game. You see one of those things.
So pursuing versus unexpected, basically.
Correct.
You're pursuing that.
Correct.
I think there's something cool in going to pursue it because I think you're more locked in that way, too. I mean, you're going to be locked in no matter what. All of these are cool things to experience. I want to go pursue it just because, like, there's a chance I'm going to be there for something special. So you're engaged from the very beginning. You're anticipating that at bat. You're anticipating that pitcher going out in the first inning, or if it's coming out of the bullpen, if it's something historic that way. From a basketball standpoint, I know Steph Curry to set the 3-point record. They were playing in Indianapolis a couple years ago at the Pacers, and me and a bunch of buddies, we all bought tickets to go, and we still think it was rigged because he just happened to stop shooting threes late in that game, and the very next game it just happened to be at Madison Square Garden where every big name had already just had tickets and ready to go, right? But we went pursuing that to see Steph Curry break that record. He did not, but it would have been pretty cool to say we were there the night Steph did that. But yeah, I would pursue the record. I would go to pursue it, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I have gone to a game where someone was pursuing a record, and it was when Mickey was chasing 500 homers. He was at 499 for a good amount of time, and every night was selling out at Comerica Park when they were back home, and that was a team that wasn't very good and should not have been selling out at that time of year, but it was electric. Every time he went up to bat, there was one at bat he got a 4-pitch walk. It felt like a playoff game. Everyone was raining down boos. People were like throwing stuff, like, come on, just let him hit. And then later in the game, he had a warning track shot. And when that ball was in the air, it was like hushed. Like everyone was like, oh, and then they caught it. But no, it was cool. I think that seeing those career milestones, knowing that there's a limited list of people that have gotten 500 hits or 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, that's like greatness. I think that. So watching a player achieve greatness is something that I would personally rather see.
All right. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. On the YouTube side, Casey's going to take over from here for some ads and just some housekeeping updates, of course. And then we'll have Jay Morrison coming up around the corner. Me and Reed, we agreed on too much stuff over the last segment or two, so we gotta fix that coming up here. But no, we'll be joined by Jay Morrison coming up here shortly. Covers your Bengals with Pro Football Network. We'll be right back. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
All right. Ads. By the way, that was our 4th segment, just so we're all on track.
I think that was a 30-minute segment, though.
I no clue. I don't know.
I thought it was a 30-minute segment, so we might have to cut that just in half.
We'll work on that. Encore Technologies. They provide IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
That's right, Jimbo. Productivity. The path to innovation begins right here. Visit encore.tech. And let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so we can buy this great tasting water. And as always, our ticketing sponsor, the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I know that Jacob just recently bought tickets with the Game Time app to go to the concert last night. That was the Hardy concert, I believe. There's plenty of other options for you available. There's the Red Series coming up here. There's Dragon tickets if you want to go up to Dayton. $3 right now. That's a good deal. Cubs, Monday, $11 tickets right now.
Yep.
That sounds like a good time. Luke Combs at Paycor, they've got some deals going on for that. Other tickets, not around Cincinnati, but around just the general area of Ohio, the NFL Hall of Fame, and other sorts of different things. Just check them out. Check out the Game Time map. Check out their different events. Creed is later on, and Riverbend. Lots of different things. So go check it out.
Tuesday, our unofficially official kind of Chatterbox night at the Reds game to watch
I'm so
Reed's Cubbies
excited.
3-2-1 night. I can't wait.
Have we invited you yet, Reed?
I'm gonna go. So I mean, like, I don't even know. I don't even care if you know. It's funny.
I just wanted to send a formal invitation to you right here and right now.
It's
that
gonna.
You're invited.
I hope there's like 50 Reds. I hope it's like 50 Chatterbox people there, and then it's me, the lone Cubs fan, sticking it out, taking flack. I used to ask. I'm so annoyed about the Cubs. My friends won't let me ever talk about them because of how annoying I am. To a point where I buy them tickets when the Cubs come to town. I buy them tickets and say, "Hey, I got a ticket. So and so, will you guys go?" And they straight up tell me no. They say no. I will not go. So I'll buy like 3 tickets and no one will go but my lovely wife. So I'm excited.
What are we thinking section? They're asking what section. Does it really matter?
I mean, the idea was 400 or something like that.
Somewhere up there.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll probably get like Phi Optics deck tickets to where you
Yes.
get like you pay $20 and you get a $10 voucher because I mean that's 3 beers right there.
Yeah.
Maybe we should
That's
probably-
3 beers.
3-2-1 night doesn't get better than that.
You can't get anything lower because the Cubs fans take everything at Great American Ballpark down low.
That's
So
right.
it's like,
That's right. That's right. We travel well. Hope you guys like the song "Go Cubs Go" because it's gonna be cheering through the rafters.
I also, when the Cubs score a run, I owe Reed a high five because he gave me a high five when the Tigers hit a home run. So
I like that you remember that. On Jimbo's, are you gonna show up in the 5th inning like I did
No.
when your Tigers came to town?
no, I don't think I'll show up that late.
you know, that "Go Cubs Go" song, it drives me nuts because I think it's stuck in my head. As much as I can't stand the Cubs, I remember going. I went to Wrigley years ago. It was Cubs Cardinals Sunday Night Baseball. I mean, hell, Aaron Boone was still on the Sunday Night Baseball crew, and hell, Kurt Schilling was still there too, and Tim Kirkshin and all them. But I remember going with some friends, had quite a few drinks, and then the Cubs won that night. But like exiting Wrigley, and that there was some band outside one of the bars across the street, and they had the speakers out there, and they were just blaring that. Every single Cubs fan in the area just screaming and singing that. I'm like, man, I'm not a Cubs fan, don't like the Cubs fans, but that's pretty cool. I mean, that was a pretty cool vibe coming out of Wrigley. So, yeah, that's as nice as I'll talk about. The
Yeah,
Cubs
you know they
right
say
there.
baseball season's underway. You better get ready for a brand new day. Hey,
Or-
Hamilton, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today.
Or the playoffs are underway. You better get ready for a real short stay.
What are you doing?
Heyo, man!
that?
You know what
Got
I missed
him.
right there? The awkward pause and then the Jacob giggle right after he does that. Like it's like every time, like clockwork.
Would
But
Tom call you Jimmy Whispers?
Yeah, that was rough.
well played. All right, we'll come back. We'll do a little mini segment here. By the way, Jay has the invite, right?
Yes, I did email.
Because you did your job and I did not do mine, so that's why you're the man. Like, as we're doing this, I'm like, I don't think I ever sent you, but you had the email, so we're good. Okay, cool. All right, we're ready to go. And we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Casey, update on the poll question. I know we opened up the show with Thom and Luke Brennaman. Shout out to them. They spent a little time with us after their show dialed in this morning. By the way, dialed in every Monday and Friday, 9:15 till 10 on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, Thom and Luke Brennaman. As Thom mentioned, Luke going to be going back to school. The dialed in will remain on Chatterbox Sports, but there might be a tweak as far as the day or the days that show will be coming your way. But shout out to them. They gave us a little extra time today. But what we got on the poll question?
The poll question, with 41 votes, it is, I don't know, maybe 40 votes. It's 20% said yes, that it is a concern. 80% said no, it is not a concern. Also, before we move on from this, we have a couple super chats to read
perfect.
as well.
Maybe. So I say perfect. Sometimes these work out against me. But yes, perfect.
Drew Garrison with the $5 super chat. Nobody still cares about it, but Buckeye fans. Just proving that Ryan Day was no match for a super fan with a couple iPhones. I think that was about the conversation earlier on the show. And then Justin Edgell with a $2 super chat. Nice, dirty Sanchez read.
I like my mustache. I'm sorry if you guys don't. I know Justin does. I don't know if it's a dirty Sanchez, but you know what's funny about my mustache is it doesn't grow in the middle. I kind of got.
Luckily, it's light.
I've kind of got a reverse of like that one guy that did some bad things last century, but it's off center too. So like this is the bridge of my nose right here. This is right here. It grows here. It doesn't grow right here. So it's an interesting thing. I got an
in
off
the World
center.
War II are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, I've got a reverse dictator off center.
But no, the poll question, of course, and shout out to both and Drew Garrison with the super chat and Justin with the super chat. But yeah, the poll question we opened up once Tom and Luke had headed out, just about the Jamar Chase. 2 straight days not participating in practice, still out there, still supporting his teammates. News or not news, that's kind of what the big debate was to open up the show. But it looks like 80% of everyone that has voted so far says that it is not a concern as far as that's concerned. And maybe it's not. But it's news. It may not be concerning, but it's still news. When one of your best players is not actively participating in camp, to me that's still news. But by no means am I saying everyone should be panicking, at least yet. As far as that goes. But we'll get more from Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, coming up here in just a moment. Little buy or sell action to kind of feed off what we did earlier, just to kind of set up our conversation with Jay Morrison coming up here in just a few moments. Buy or sell, Jamar Chase's absence is contract related. I kind of know where you sit with this, but buy or sell, Jamar Chase's absence is contract related. Look at that smile. Look at that. Buy or sell, Mr. Reed?
Sell.
Okay.
I'm taking what the coach says at face value. I think that sell. Sure. I just think he'll be back by the end of the week.
What? You're selling that?
Sure.
That's just ridiculous. I think we all know that this is contract related, and that's fine. It's okay. It's okay that it's contract related, folks. Yeah. It's fine. It'll get done. Don't need to panic about it.
Reed, if it is contract related, then what? Like, not that you're going to panic or anything. I'm just curious, why are you getting offended by us insinuating that it is contract related? Because I don't even think it's a bad thing if it is contract related, I guess. Not trying to argue with it. I'm just curious, that mindset is all.
Can I just sell in peace? Can I just sell?
Little
It doesn't matter.
SIP.
If it is contract related, then he'll get a new contract. He's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal for 5 years.
But it's not about. It's the missing the time. Missing time is crucial at this time of year, and we've seen it.
You think Jamar Chase isn't going to be ready for week 1? I think Jamar Chase could show up the Sunday before the first week, and I think he'll be fine.
Okay. Then why even have camp if these guys can all just show up and it's no big deal?
Listen, because they like spending time together. They're just some buddies.
They're just dudes being dudes.
Yeah, that's right. What are we talking about?
The other day.
All right, Jimmy, what do you think? Buy or sell that this is contract related, Jamar Chase's absence?
Obviously, I'm going to buy it. I think it is contract related, but I don't think it's necessarily negative. I think it's just Jamar Chase saw all these receivers getting paid this offseason, and he wants to be around. He wants to be here for a long time. They're trying to figure it out, and that's that.
All right, with that being said, he's not the only receiver having contract disputes with their respective teams right now. Again, I shouldn't say that. We don't know if it's contract related. We just assume 3 or 4 of us do at least. But buy or sell, CeeDee Lamb also in a contract dispute with the Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Ayuk with, of course, the San Francisco 49ers, and assuming Jamar Chase with the Cincinnati Bengals. Buy or sell that all 3 of those wide receivers will be starting week 1 for their current respective teams. Buy or sell?
Buy.
All 3 of them? Okay.
Yeah, buy. Cool. I'll buy that all 3 of them will play. They'll all get deals done.
I think CeeDee Lamb will get taken care of. I think Jamar will get taken care of. Brandon Ayuk is the one he's had so many moments so far this offseason where he's been in the media for the wrong reasons, whether it's him complaining or saying trade me or implying all those things, I should say, not saying them directly, but implying them. I feel like I have to sell because he's in this group here. I don't think Ayuk is going to be he's not going to be starting week 1. He might be holding out.
That's the one that's the most dangerous of all of them as far as holding out. CeeDee Lamb seems pretty deep two right now as well. I mean, like, and you have Jerry Jones, who's making absolutely no sense in his press conference yesterday, trying to say he's going all in, but giving all the excuses as to why they're not going all in. It didn't make any sense. But CeeDee Lamb is different than the Jamar Chase situation, because CeeDee Lamb, it's now is when it doesn't make any sense what's going on with that one. But Jimmy, buy or sell, all three of those wide receivers will be starting for their respective teams week 1.
One question. CeeDee Lamb's not there, right? And
He's not there.
Ayuk is there?
No, Ayuk is there. It's like Jamar. He's there, but
Jamar.
he's not participating in practice.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I think they will. I think he's too good for the Cowboys not to figure it out. I think Jerry Jones will figure out how to pay him as much money as he's worth. He's a top 4 receiver in the NFL easily. I think Ayuk is the interesting one. I agree. I think Ayuk requested a trade, but I do think him being there leads me to believe more likely than not that he'll be a San Francisco 49er come week 1 and he'll be on the field playing. And then Jamar Chase, of course, he'll be playing. There's no worry there for me.
All three of these are very interesting situations, all demanding money, all demanding probably for the same range of money, but all on teams that have very interesting scenarios developing on other positions. Like the Cincinnati Bengals just paid Joe Burrow, right? He's the highest paid quarterback in football. By T. Higgins getting the franchise tag and not committing to him long term, that's basically, he's entering his final season with the Bengals, which insinuates that, yes, they did that because they are going to go all in on Jamar Chase. But CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys, who have a quarterback in Dak Prescott that's highly paid, they're already talking about his next contract. We're talking about him potentially being the quarterback that will be the first to ever get $60 million a year. So we have the Cowboys talking about that with Dak Prescott, also while dealing on the defensive side with Micah Parsons. And you have CeeDee Lamb, who's asking for, Justin Jefferson type money. That's fascinating. Brandon Ayuk wants that money. Everyone's like, well, if he's going to get paid, why don't the 49ers want to get him taken care of? Well, because they're in a weird Brock Purdy situation, because Brock Purdy's due to be paid a year from now, so they're trying to get their ducks in a row to make sure that that's taken care of. Could this mess that up? That's why they're dragging their feet to potentially looking to trade him. I read this morning a couple reports or teams that are kicking the tires on the Brandon Ayuk deal. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of those. The Browns were one until they got the deal with Amari Cooper buttoned up. But I found that the Steelers are the team that everyone says keep an eye on as far as Brandon Ayuk is concerned. So I think all of these guys are in very unique situations. I think that Jamar Chase is in the best situation of the other two. I don't think the Bengals have as many question marks. I don't think they have a lot of question marks at all. That's why I'm like, if he's going to get paid, just get it done, get it taken care of, and I think that it will. I'm not worried about that one. But Ayuk, I think, will be traded, so I'm going to sell. I do not think all three of those guys will be playing for their respective teams in week 1. And then CeeDee Lamb, it's hard to imagine them not keeping him. Like, right. It'd be hard to imagine the Bengals not keeping Jamar Chase, but $60 million a year potentially is what they're looking at for Dak Prescott. Micah Parsons wants, he wants a record-setting deal too on the defensive side of the ball. We always joke about that pie. There is only so much pie for everyone to go around, so it'll be interesting.
I had an interesting thought before we move on from this. Doesn't it make sense for Jamar Chase to sit out as long as he can to wait for CeeDee Lamb if he is asking for Justin Jefferson type money? I mean, he's gonna probably make more than AJ Brown.
That's like that's why.
So he's probably just maybe that's what this really is boiling down to. Is
we thought it was Justin Jefferson that he was waiting on, but then CeeDee Lamb all of a sudden jumps into the equation too because he had that monster year last year as well. So, nonetheless, but what?
That graphic's ridiculous.
I can't even see it.
That's what's funny about it. It's ridiculous looking.
It's like Hushmanzada on the back of a jersey. It's like,
right. It just bends all the way around.
Nonetheless. But all right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll be catching up with Jay Morrison coming up. Pro Football Network covering your Cincinnati Bengals. Day 3 of camp coming up. The last update I saw, Jay Morrison had tweeted out that there's really not a plan out there that he's seen that, you sit out a healthy top receiver like that 2 days into camp, and that Zach really gave no indication of what the plan is for Friday. And so I'll be excited to talk with him coming up here in just a little bit. But no, Casey, you brought up the fact about waiting for CeeDee Lamb. Look, we saw that at the quarterback spot like last year with Joe Burrow. It was, all right, you're keeping an eye on Lamar Jackson, keeping an eye, of course, on Justin Herbert. Like that happens. It's a staring contest. But there have been CeeDee Lamb's kind of the wild card here because of the fact that Justin Jefferson we thought was the receiver that even Jamar Chase kept bringing up, hey, I'm excited for him to get paid so he can reset the market for me. The market was reset with Justin Jefferson, no doubt, and then St. Brown gets paid as well really high. But CeeDee Lamb, if that's the case, though, if he is doing the staring contest, now you have to be confident that the Cowboys are going to get a deal done very soon with CeeDee Lamb. And I know you're not buying into the contract dispute, but if it is, Reed, a thing where he's waiting on CeeDee Lamb to get taken care of first, if that actually is the case, that's kind of concerning because I don't think the Cowboys are close to getting a deal done with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I don't think they're very close at all. But the same thing, I think just Jerry Jones will dish out the money. I think we're seeing the end of this current era of the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think, and again, the Dak thing, too. Where are you on Dak? Where does he rank with
he's a pretty good quarterback. I think he's certainly a top, right at the edge of the top 10 quarterbacks.
$60 million a year, though?
No.
That's where it's
going
throwing
rate, but that's also the going rate for quarterback play. So,
but no one feels bad for Jerry Jones, and no one feels bad for the Dallas Cowboys. As far as that's concerned. While we wait to get Jay on, just a reminder, 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home for Cincinnati Reds baseball. Reds, after Game 3 of that Braves series, of course, that was the doubleheader 2 nights ago that got canceled. The Reds had that night off and then had last night off. They get going tonight. They have a big series, of course, with the Tampa Bay Rays. This is the final series before the trade deadline on Monday at 4 o'clock. We've joked with Elliot, we've joked with Jacob. We're all exhausted talking about what will the Reds do at the trade deadline. Well, we don't have to wait too much longer. We're going to find out here in the next couple of days. And how much of an impact will this series with the Rays have on what the Reds decide to do by Monday at 4 o'clock? I don't know how much weight it carries, but I have a hard time believing that 3 dominant performances, especially with your 3 best pitchers being thrown out there, I have a hard time believing that won't have some kind of impact on what decision the Reds make. But I also have a hard time believing if the Reds get it handed to them for 3 straight games, that it won't have an impact on the decision that the front office makes when it's all said and done. So, all right, we're going to step away for a few moments. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bengals beat writer Jay Morrison with Pro Football Network ahead of Day 3 of Bengals camp coming up. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Again, if you're just tuning in and hanging out with us, welcome. We appreciate you. Shout out to Thom and Luke Brennaman for opening up the show with us earlier. We talked Reds. We talked about the Pete Rose documentary. We talked college football. We talked about it all. So if you missed it, go back, rewatch it, like, subscribe. We appreciate that nonetheless. No Elliot today. He's out. Jacob out as well. But we got Jimmy, we got Casey, and we got Reed hanging out with you here today on Off the Bench, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. But let's talk a little Cincinnati Bengals. Only a couple days into camp, and the last time we caught up with our next guest, Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network covers your Cincinnati Bengals. The last time we caught up with him, it was interesting because we talked about how quiet of an offseason it was, or how it quieted down heading into camp, and it was full steam ahead. Well, it didn't take long. Things getting a little bit noisier as we're 2 days into Bengals camp. Jay, welcome. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's not really that noisy because Jamar's not saying anything and Zach's not saying, he's not letting on what's going on either, just saying it's part of the plan. But yeah, it's I don't know how soon we're going to see Jamar in practice, but I don't think this is anything that's going to be a long-term issue.
So we're split here in this room.
Okay.
So we're going around right now just talking about whether or not is this contract related? Reed does not think this is contract related or doesn't want to believe that it's contract related, saying he's going to take the coach's word for it as far as that's concerned. Zach Taylor saying this is a part of the plan. But as far as you're concerned, I mean, Jay, is this contract related? Like, what else could it be? Because, again, you talk about a plan keeping a healthy wide receiver out of camp, not just the first day, but the first 2 and maybe 3. It has to be contract related, correct?
Yeah, there's no other explanation for it. I mean, Jamar said at the end of minicamp that he was 100% healthy. Zach said yesterday he's healthy. So why else would you not be practicing? I get it. T's healthy. He didn't practice yesterday, but he practiced the first day. I can see giving a veteran, and they did it with Trey Hendrickson yesterday. They're going to do it with Joe Burrow today. I can see giving a veteran a day off early in camp, but the first 2 days, that's 100% contract related, and it's unfortunate because Zach has to do these verbal gymnastics and dance around saying it's all part of some plan? And, I asked him, I said, well, is the plan for him to practice tomorrow? Well, I said that yesterday, and he said, we'll see. And it's like, well, if there's a plan, well, how's there a we'll see? So I don't know how long he can keep doing this. At some point, Jamar is going to have to come out and either practice or say, I'm holding in. And he's putting Zach in a really awkward spot, a bad spot. And, Zach talked Monday at the pre-camp lunch, and he did his pre-camp news conference on Wednesday, and then he has to turn around and talk to all the media on the field after practice yesterday, because 2 days without Jamar, that has to be addressed. So it's not to the point of causing a rift or divide or anything, but it's something that they need to get fixed soon, and I assume they will. I don't know how long Jamar can do this. I don't think it's going to hurt them football wise. I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have as great of a connection as any quarterback receiver duo around, given their time at LSU and at Cincinnati. But at the same time, they're looking to do a lot of new things with Jamar this year. Move him all around, use him in the slot a lot more. He didn't participate in any of the OTAs or in minicamp, so he hasn't actually been on the field to do any of these installs and with any of this new offensive coordinator. So they've got to get it figured out soon and get him out there.
Jay, and okay, so we all think it's contract related. That's great, but my big question is, why is that such a big deal for them just to come out and say, I guess? I feel like, yes, I think it would be a headline. Man, Jamar Chase sitting out because of a contract dispute, but at least it's put out there, and then that fire's put out. Now we just sit back and wait. I feel like they're making this worse for critics out there because they're coming out and saying it's part of a plan. And then Jamar Chase is asked about it. He just says no comment. I just don't see the damage. We all assume it's contract related. I can't see from their perspective why keeping this quiet is helping them, because at this point I think it's becoming a distraction because they're not saying it. I think it'd be less of a distraction if they just came out and said, yeah, it's contract related.
Yeah, I think you would risk, if you'd make Jamar mad, but I think that's part of what Zach's talking about, where he's been in constant communication with Jamar. They're on the same page where this is concerned, and he's just kind of doing him a solid, if you will. And he's like, well, we'll dance around this, but I can only do this dance for so long. We get to Sunday or Monday, he's going to have to say what it is. Jamar's going to have. Why wouldn't Jamar just say what it is? I mean, if that's what you're doing, just say that's what you're doing. I don't get the whole secrecy thing and the kind of the fudging with the idea of it's some sort of plan. So maybe we'll hear from Jamar at some point. He said he would talk in training camp. We're only 2 days in, but everybody, as soon as practice ends, goes right to his locker just to see if he is going to say anything. And then you're waiting around for one guy and not getting a chance to talk to other guys. So I think everybody is hoping, not necessarily resolution, but just something comes of this where, okay, this is what it is. Now we can move forward.
We have Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, covers your Cincinnati Bengals, with us here off the bench. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Now, earlier you said you don't anticipate this being too long of an absence. If it is contract related, I mean, for one, are you surprised that this contract thing came up now? I feel like including our conversations in the past, we anticipated this being more of a talking point next off season. Were you caught off guard by this? And with this starting now at this point, what's the end game? I mean, the end game's get the contract resolved, but what do you think the end game's going to be on both sides? Because the Bengals have been known to be very stubborn in these particular situations. It's a staring contest. Who's going to blink first, in your opinion?
Mike Brown doesn't blink. I mean, and they've got all the leverage. They've got him under contract for two more years. And Jamar made it sound like he was good with this, and he was willing to wait for Justin Jefferson. He didn't seem like he was in any kind of hurry. And honestly, if you look at it, I mean, he can't do anything to hurt his value this year. Even if he gets hurt, all he can do is improve his value. So it would make sense to play this out, and whatever the Bengals might be willing to pay him right now, they're going to have to pay him even more next year if he goes out and has a typical Jamar year, and maybe goes above and has a career year. Who knows? I don't know. I think the Bengals want to get it done, but they want to get it done the way they want to get it done, and they don't want to do the guaranteed money as much as Justin Jefferson, and I think that's the sticking point. Jamar is criminally underpaid for how good he is and what he's making this year, but that's part of a rookie deal, and they use the 5th-year option on him. He's got $21.8 million guaranteed, So if you pair those two together, then okay, now you're talking about he's making 11, 12 million per year over the next 2 years. It's just, I don't know. I see what the Bengals are doing. I think Jamar wanted, like I said, to play this out. This feels like it's the agent saying that, this is what you need to do, and Jamar trusting his agent and listening to him. I don't know. I still don't think we see a deal before this season starts. It's more likely that it happens next year, spring, summer, 2 days before the opener. Who knows what time next year? But it just feels like this is gonna play out. I can't see Jamar holding in the entire camp and get to the point where we're talking about him possibly missing games. This is going to get resolved one way or another. I don't think the contract is going to be the resolution this offseason.
Jay Morrison, and again, look, and we're not going to keep talking about this the whole time because there's a lot of positives that have come out of camp, no doubt about it. But obviously, this caught a lot of people off guard. And in defense of the Bengals, it has yet to come out that this is exactly contract related. I think we could just all connect the dots as far as that's concerned. But as far as some positive takeaways in camp, what are some of the big takeaways you've had? Because while everyone's focusing on Jamar Chase, sounds like Burton has had one heck of a start to camp 2 days in.
Yeah, he looks great. He looked great in OTAs, just running routes on air, and now he's running it against receivers or against DBs. And, he did get a ball punched out yesterday, but it was kind of the echo of the whistle. It was almost at the end of the play, but he looks great. Andre Yoshivas looks incredible. I mean, he's right now, if the season started tomorrow, he's their starting slot, and he may be the starting slot on September 8th against the Patriots. He has really refined his game. He worked with a receiver coach in the offseason. Him and Chase Brown both went down to Atlanta and worked with this receiver coach, and they both look really good. But at the top of the list has to be Joe Burrow. I mean, we left at the end of minicamp with him throwing half speed and with him missing days when the media was there and all these weird things going on in the back of your mind. It's like, where is that wrist? How does he actually feel? And he looks great. He's zipping the ball. He's throwing deep balls. We didn't see him throw a lot of deep shots for most of training or most of OTAs. He did a little bit early on, and then I think it did start bothering him a little bit. But there's a couple wonky balls that come out, and they're uncharacteristic wobblers. But I think that's all just part of getting the mechanics back and getting comfortable with the wrist. But as far as the strength of the wrist, his accuracy, he looks really good. Pretty soon, we'll get a better idea of where Amarius Mims is and all those, that O-line, the D-line. You really can't tell much until the pads go on. I think Zach said, Tuesday is when they're going to go to pads. He said day 5, but actually Monday is day 5 of practice. So I'm not sure if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday, but before long, we'll get to see some of what's going on there with the O-line, D-line. Because again, it's like OTAs. There's just not much you can tell when they're out there and just no pads and not thumping at all.
Jay, you just talked about the fact, obviously, you can't really tell yet until they get the pads on, until they start muscling up front. But how do you, just from your perspective, anticipate that playing out with Mims? Obviously, a lot of excitement when they drafted him. The people pointed out the lack of games, of course, in college due to injury. But he's a massive dude. In fact, the Bengals have a massive offensive line right now. I mean, they beefed up front to protect Joe Burrow, no doubt about it. But with the Brown, injury, or at least what people are kind of keeping an eye on, what do you anticipate for Mims? Is Mims going to be, pushed as the guy, or obviously you have to see how he performs early, but just your overall takeaway of how you think this plays out?
Yeah, I think he's got a real shot to win the job. We haven't seen any, ooh, that was bad. There was one play where Sam Hubbard beat him yesterday, but that's going to happen to a young guy. We haven't seen the false starts. It's just, it is really hard to tell, but if he can get the mental part of it down and not make the same mistake twice and really get in the playbook, and he told me earlier in the offseason he keeps 2 notebooks that he keeps all of his notes in, and he duplicates them, and he has one in the meeting room and one that he carries with him everywhere, just so that he's never without it. He's serious about this, and he's got all the physical tools in the world. Duke Tobin said Monday at the pre-camp lunch, and this is a guy with a physical profile that should have been a top 5 draft pick. And the only thing that let them get him at 18 is the fact that he barely played in college. So if he can turn it on mentally, and he's got the physical tools, if he can get everything right in his head, I don't see any reason why he can't beat out Trent Brown. I think Trent Brown's better suited to be your swing tackle anyhow. He has some experience playing on the left side, and he's a veteran, but he's got injury issues, and I think they would love to see Maurice Mims win that job. And right now, he's in the lead because Trent Brown hasn't done much at all, and he's on the NFI list right now with what Zach Taylor said was tightness. So he barely participated in the offseason, and he has missed the first 2 days of practice, and it doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime super soon, maybe 3-4 days from now at the earliest.
Mike Gesicki, a lot of people excited about him. A lot of reports coming out about how often it looks like those two are connecting, Joe Burrow and him connecting. Obviously, the early goings of camp. I think a lot of people. I mean, that was a sneaky good addition in the offseason. I know because so many people were talking about, do you go get the top tight end if he's available out of the draft? Look at what the Chiefs do with their top tight end. Look what the Bills do. I know it wasn't a name that everyone anticipated, but that was a sneaky good get for the Cincinnati Bengals, and it sounds like just a couple days in that's a connection that you guys are starting to see early and often.
Yeah, they really have a good connection, and like I said before, where there have been some balls that have been like sailed on Joe a little bit or a little bit flutters, and it seems like most of those go to Gesicki, and he still finds a way to catch them. He twists and contorts and leaps, and he's coming down with these passes. It was my favorite signing of the offseason, and not just because what he can bring to this offense, but they got it. I think it's $2.4 million. I mean, they stole him basically, and we've seen it with C.J. Uzomah, Hayden Hurst, Tanner Hudson last year. If you play tight end for Joe Burrow, you're going to get paid. He's going to get you the ball, and Gesicki's got a chance to have the best season of any of those tight ends that Joe Burrow's played with, even with all these other weapons around. There's a lot of targets to be spread around, but I really think he can be a huge weapon up the seam and then in the red zone with that frame, his catch radius. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him play this season. All
right, Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network covers your Cincinnati Bengals. Awesome enough to give us some time here today on Off the Bench. Obviously, the big storyline surrounding the Cincinnati Bengals at this point is what's going on with Ja'Marr Chase. And send us out with this on the scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you that a week ago at this time we'll be at least seeing Ja'Marr Chase out on the practice field?
Yeah, I think by next Friday for sure. I don't know that they can keep doing this. I think he's making a point, but I don't think he's going to dig in and just be a hold-in for the entire camp. I think he's just letting them know he's unhappy. He wants them to accelerate the contract negotiations. He saw what happened with T. He's probably not happy about the way they treated T, and he's just making a little bit of a stand, but I think this is going to be smoothed out in short order.
All right, sounds good. Jay, you're the man. I appreciate it. I know you just came on with us last week. You're a busy guy, but we appreciate you, and thank you, and have a great rest of your weekend.
All right, thanks, Justin.
All right, good stuff. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, good enough to hop on with us here today. And again, Jimmy, Casey, and Reed hanging out with us here as we wrap the show up. Just overall thoughts, takeaways from the conversation with Jay. Reed, right off the bat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, he pretty much debunked what I said, which is that this wasn't a contract related, and that's okay because
I've been telling you, dude. You should just listen to me.
I should listen.
In
to
Kinner, you should trust.
By the way, what did you do? What did you do to this chat? They're just all over you all the time. And
What did you start it with me?
I don't know. I don't know if I started it, but I certainly didn't help it. Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Drinks will be
I think that this will be just like Jay said at the end. It's not a non-story. It's clearly a story, but it will be over soon. Ja'Marr Chase will play. Health, right? If he's healthy, he'll play 17 games for the Cincinnati Bengals this year, and he'll play for the years to come. So I'm not too worried about it. It'll get worked out. We all have circled an extension for a long time, and it will get done eventually. So I'm not too worked up about it.
One of my biggest takeaways, and the thing that got me the most excited, because I'm a football nerd deep down, you guys know in the chat how much I care about the draft process, testing and whatnot. And Andre Iosivas was one of the highest graded receivers in not just his draft class, but in the entire league's process of doing this over many, many years of doing this. The fact that he was blowing away Jay Morrison saying that he would probably be our day one slot receiver right now, and the fact that he's had lots of reps on the outside too, gets me very excited. That's a guy that had so much potential that could be such a just out of left field star, right, for this team. And you go look at the clips, he looks strong, man. I mean, he's just ripping the ball away from some of these guys. I'm very excited about that. Very, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, Jay kind of confirmed everything I thought about the Jamar situation and where that was headed. And at the end of the day, there should have never really been a worry for many Bengals fans. But I guess Adam Schefter kind of poking buttons and getting people riled up, creating a story out of it. But at the end of the day,
you blaming Adam Schefter. You blaming Adam Schefter.
That Adam
And
Schefter, I don't like him. You quote me on this. That Adam Schefter is no good. He's a no good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see Jamar Chase on the field and what his contract extension comes out to be when it does ultimately happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, Jay saying, 2 years still left on the deal. He doesn't have any leverage, but he's trying to work it. Man, I'm just curious what the end game, or how this is going to ultimately be resolved, because it's just one of those things. Like, you had Trey Hendrickson. I want Trey to, oh man, it's going to get bad, and then I'm just playing. I'm here. Man, we thought it was going to get ugly. I'm going to sign the tender early. Like, these things keep happening that are weird that you think it's going to turn into something, and they get resolved quickly. So I get why everyone's anticipating this will be resolved quickly. It just, again, I'm a hater. I'm a clown. Everyone call me a clown in the chat. That's fine. You're just mad because I was right about this. That's all. It is what it is. But no, this feels different. This Jamar Chase thing feels different. But at the same time, it's going to be weird if he does continue to hold out and does continue to be difficult, because you see the great thing, like T. Higgins, all the great things he said, man, I just want to focus on winning. I don't want to be a distraction. Just want to get this taken care of. And then you thought that was resolved, and now here comes Jamar Chase. No rift right now, but, man, this could get a little dicey. And you guys think he'll be back soon, and he possibly will, but why start this just to give up after a couple days? I think this could be a little bit further into camp than just a week, but we'll see what happens. But, all right, that wraps it up for us. Appreciate everyone who tuned in and gave us some time today. What you got? I
was going to say, end the radio, and then we got to do chat power rankings.
Sounds like a plan. That wraps it up for us on radio. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. This has been Off the Bench.
It's on me? Camera's on me? Nice. Hey, guys. Kenner, I thought you had a great show for being massively hungover the entire time. Massively. I couldn't even see your eyes. You weren't looking straight. They were so glossed over. All right, today, chat power rankings. I'm on the show, so I make sure chat power rankings.
Says breaking news, OVI checkpoint set up outside CBox Studios.
You wouldn't pass. I'd have to call the bail bondsman here in Hamilton.
Had plenty of Pawnee water to flush it out.
That's
so I'm
right.
Good to go.
It's good alkaline water. It's the hydration benefits in a clinical study are shown to be better than regular water. So make sure to drink plenty of Pawnee. All right, so we're gonna do a top nine in the chat power rankings. I wasn't here all week. Had to work last. Was it yesterday? I guess I was here Wednesday. So I guess yesterday was the only day I missed. But we're going to do top 9 in honor of the great Joe Burrow. So coming in, no honorable mentions, nothing. We're just getting down to the nitty-gritty top 9. Also, there will be Quiplash after this show. We're going to play 2 games, and I got to go get some stuff done over at Westside Little League. All right. Coming in at number 9 is Justin Edgell. Justin, you are a loyal watcher of the show. You are a loyal chatter. We thank you so much for being here. When you are here, thank you so much. Coming in at number 9 is Justin Edgell. Can we get a whoop, whoop?
Whoop, whoop.
Jimbo?
Whoop, whoop.
Oh, come on. Again.
I'm not good at the...
I don't need you to be good at the sound. I just need you to
act
like you
Jimmy.
care.
Whoop
it's
it
a
up.
whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
There we go. All right, Justin, congratulations. If you guys are wondering what the picture is, I looked up my name on Google, and apparently, it's my wedding, it's for my wedding website. I don't know. I Googled it, and it's a picture of me kissing my dog with my wife. Coming in at number 8 is Chase Wellman. Chase, thank you so much for being here every day. I think you had some good chats today. Were you the one that called me Dirty Sanchez, or was that Justin?
That was Justin.
Oh, okay. Well, Chase, thank you so much for being here. As always, we love you so much. And a whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Number 8. Coming in number 7. I emailed her sister last week. It is the queen of the chat, Molly. Thank you. I think Molly has been intermittent here on the show. We love when you're around. The reason we love when you're around, Molly, is because you are in. We need the woman's touch here. We need the woman's touch here. We need to keep the boys in line, and that's what Molly does so great. Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you, RM, as well. You know what? We'll change this on the fly. It is Molly and RM coming in at number 7. Whoop, 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 whoop. A double whoop, whoop for a double number 7, Molly and RM.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Jimbo.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
There it is.
There we go. Kenner, are you whoop-whooping over there?
Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm loading stuff real quick. But whoop,
He's
whoop, whoop. I'll whoop it
hungover.
out.
Give him
he's
a
hungover.
breather. He can't. He
Sounds like
can't
a dog
think
over there.
straight.
Like whoop, 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 whoop.
He's-
Dog pound, baby.
Say your ABCs backwards, Kenner. Walk in a straight line. Coming in at number 6. He's normally higher when I do chat power rankings, but we can't always put you in the top 5. And also, the reason that you are you're not higher on this list or lower, or however you want to say it, is because you owe me a debt. You owe me a debt. You owe me beers. It's Everett Henry. I don't know if you want to do this at the Kayada. I don't know if you want to do this at 3-2-1 night next Tuesday, but you owe me beers, and listen. A Lannister always pays its debts. A mouse always gets his debts paid. I will get those beers from you, Everett Henry. But a whoop whoop for number 6.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks. I needed a little lower of a whoop whoop because he does owe me beer, and I'm very serious about getting my debts paid. Coming in at number 5, it is superstar Mark Fetters. Mark's been on a heater, as he always is in the Discord, showing his bets. Mark, are you wearing pants? I didn't know if you're wearing pants because I think it used to be a joke that you don't wear pants, but I think that you actually don't wear pants. Put on pants, Mark. What are you doing? Put on some pants. Whoop whoop to superstar Mark Fetters.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Let's go, Mark. Coming in at number... Kenner, can you give a whoop whoop for Mark?
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks. Coming in at number 4. This is going to shock some of you guys. I think this is going to shock some of you guys. And the reason I'm putting number 4, I know we've had a long-standing feud. He finally revealed himself. I mean, I knew who he was for a long time, but he finally revealed himself. He made me laugh earlier this week. It's Sean Connor. He told a childhood story that made me giggle. He made me giggle live on air, and for that reason, he broke me. He broke me. You're coming in at number 4. It's Sean Connor. Whoop, whoop to you, Mr. Sean. Whoop, whoop indeed. You know what? If we ever get a beer, we'll take a pitcher of beer, and you'll have a pitcher, I'll have a pitcher, and you'll pour your pitcher into my pitcher to signify that we are friends, and I'll pour it back, and I'll keep mixing it around, and we'll just have beer all around. So, whoop, whoop to you, Mr. Sean Connor. Can we get a whoop, whoop for Sean?
Womp, womp.
Oh, no.
Whoop,
no.
whoop, whoop, whoop
There
to
it
Sean
is,
for revealing
Sean.
himself to Reed.
That's right, Sean. We love you. We
Should've
love
kept
you.
it up. would've
Coming in
never
at number
known.
3, Nate Seltzer. Nate Seltzer with a strong week as always. Nate's always fantastic in the chat, and this week was no different. I cannot imagine a week in which Nate Seltzer does not drop into the top 5. I cannot imagine a week in which he's not at least top 5, at least while I'm doing it. So shout out to Nate Seltzer for being number 3. A big old boisterous whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. Kenner? Boisterous.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
That wasn't boisterous.
Sounded like a Browns fan.
And that was also multiple whoops. It's 2.
too.
Whoop, whoop.
There
There
we
it
go.
is. That was okay. I'm done with the Kenner whoop.
He's hungover though.
Because he is hungover.
So hungover.
The Kenner whoop whoops sound very similar to like the dog pound from Cleveland.
That's what I was
I'm
thinking.
done
That's what
with
we're.
it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Is that what you're
That
going for?
PTSD from all them ass whoopings that Cleveland gives you guys. I'm
Yeah,
just
because
saying.
Cleveland wins a lot of football games. Yep,
could
good
count
job,
on two.
Cleveland.
We could count on 2 wins a year, baby.
The
2 wins
Cleveland
a
Browns,
year.
noted winners. That's when everyone thinks of the Cleveland football team. That is the Browns. They're like, God, that team
you
just
guys do
wins
this,
all
but
the
why
gosh
can't
darn
your
time.
team beat them then? Why is this why can't your team beat them then? Like it works out.
Because we're worried about winning other games, brother.
So
We're not,
it's a trap. The Browns are a trap game. It's
They're
always
not
a trap game.
Trap.
The real team's the next.
It's barely a real football game. The way that they win,
You're-
the
I
way
mean,
that they play.
usually
Coming in number
done.
2, Blackmore. I can't put you at number 1. It's I can't put you number 1. I thank you so much for having my back every single day in this chat. Love you so much, Blackmore. You're a Reed guy. I'm a Blackmore guy, but I can't put you number 1. Just nepotism reasons. Just reasons for that. But a whoop, whoop, you'll always be number 2. You'll always be number 2. I just can't put you number 1. Whoop, whoop for Blackmore?
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Blackmore. Let's go.
Yeah. And coming in at number 1, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who are you guys guessing on who's going to be number 1?
No Mark Fetters.
Yeah.
Mark's 5. Spoiler, it's Game Day 513 with the win this week. Game Day, great week. Great week. We'll clap it up for you, and we'll give you a whoop whoop. A big old whoop whoop. Congrats, Game Day. Everyone give a whoop whoop in the chat for Game Day 513.
Whoop, whoop. Let's go.
Whoop,
Game
whoop.
Day. Whoop, whoop.
Let's go.
Big winner.
I thought that was a good list. That was a good list.
That was a great list, Reed.
Who'd we miss? That was awesome. This was a fun day. Cincy B, I would put you in the list, but you're already drinking today. You're already drinking, so your weekend's already started. Your weekend, nothing like what? It was a Bloody Mary. God, Bloody Marys are great. You guys Bloody Mary fans?
Nope.
No, I'm not.
They're great.
Who's Veda?
I know Kenner is.
Is Veda someone new that I don't recognize? I don't recognize that name in the chat.
Mouse Cop can't be in my top 10. But he did come up with the Reed Publicans thing.
That was going to be my comment. I was like,
funny.
I really like that. I thought that was perfect. Republican like that.
It is funny
it's
because
very well done.
Well, it's a pun. Like they're trying to figure out my political
It's not bad for an independent.
ideology.
Yeah.
And it's the best kept secret on the show, how I think politically. But all right, so we're gonna wrap up this show. For the members, we're gonna play a little Quiplash coming up. I will not be here Monday. I don't think I'm gonna be on the show. I don't know. We'll see. But
I'm
Kenner
off
will be
Monday
back.
too. So
you're off Monday.
Everyone rejoice. Everybody rejoice. No Browns fan on Monday.
Oh, so I'll be here Monday. Let's go. No Kenner? Yeah, he's gonna be hungover. How dare he come here on a Monday?
From the weekend.
Kenner, thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Sunday night binge. I can't wait.
Oh, Game Day. Game Day came up with Republican. Well, that's why you're number 1. That's why you're number 1.
Republican.
Hey, Jay. Everett Henry's just out on you, Kenner.
He's so out.
Oh,
He's never been more
Clown Kenner.
That is totally fine. His feelings get hurt. I mean, the one media guy that doesn't tell him that his team's great, he just hates me right off the bat. Like that. That's fine.
Yeah, because that's what everyone does. They just love on the Cincinnati Bengals. What are you talking about?
Who? Oh my God! Are you kidding? Your team
Yeah.
gets drooled about all the
Yeah.
time. What are you talking about? Like
I'm gonna have to agree with this,
because Adam
with Kenner.
Schefter went at you guys one time. He speaks for everybody. Like your team gets that's all that's talked about is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Why wouldn't you talk about us?
We do.
Gosh darn it!
You just want us to
Gosh
talk
darn
about
it! We
a
made
certain
the
way.
Super Bowl
2
when Joe
years
Burrow
ago.
got sacked 10
And you
times.
lost.
Then they go back and play the AFC Championship and lose to one of the best dynasties the league's ever seen. We're the only team that can beat the gosh darn Chiefs. Yeah, you should drool over us.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying that it's not
Get 'em,
warranted.
Jimmy.
I'm sorry that the Lions and the Browns aren't drooled over.
I think the Lions are pretty drooled over too.
The Browns aren't, but that's their fault. But I don't do the whole woe is the Browns thing. Like you get Deshaun, you deserve to get buried. Like,
I think
that's on them.
I think they're worthy of being drooled over, and I really like them too. Kenner might not because he's a fan of a rival team, but
Who?
the Bengals.
Oh yeah,
I just think people love the Bengals.
I mean, they get talked about like every time. Oh, who could take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? It's always the Bengals. It's always Joe Burrow.
Because we're the
They're-
only team that's
and-
done
and-
it.
But you're making it sound like all media does is bury your team. That is
Well,
not
yeah.
the case.
I
Are
think-
you media? Do you bury my team?
I'm not real media. I'm
I
not even
do.
real
Media?
ESPN.
What, you saying
Not
the
real.
show's fake? You saying the company that I work for is fake? What are you saying, Kidder, that I don't have a real job?
I don't
Am I
prop
homeless?
myself. I don't.
Is my marriage real? What's wrong with my life?
I don't
Why
prop
do you hate
myself
me?
up. I don't prop myself up as real media.
I
Let's
think-
just
Go
be
drink
real.
the water, you hungover.
You
I
drunk?
think if you asked a majority of NFL fans who they would want to see in the Super Bowl this year, they would say Bengals Lions. I think so.
All right. See you guys.
Have a good night. Day. See, hungover.
All right.
See ya.